Uh, Hello everyone. This is a bit unusual. Just Nathan here, your best one of Going in Raw hosts. I'm first and alone on this recording because Blake has asked me a special request for this a special Wrestlemania version of Going in Raw. I have been asked to start recording before I join the call with Blake because apparently there's a surprise waiting for me. I can't remember the last time I was so excited and scared at the same time. Okay, I see that Blake's online and ready, so I'm just gonna join the call and see what happens.
I just want to pre-warn Nathan that this is amongst the maddest things I've ever done. I'm just going to call him now. Oi, oi!
Okay. You see, why didn't you tell me about the toga? Because then I would have actually put some effort in.
Oh, would you? Fair enough.
I've got bed sheets. I would have done it.
I bought this off a costume shop.
You know what's annoying about this is that all I can put in of this is like a screenshot.
Yeah, unfortunately so. Yeah. I mean, I put it on and I've taken my trousers off as well. I'm still wearing underwear, but I am worried about doing a bit of a Sharon Stone, so I'm going to try and keep my knees together.
It's all right. I can't see below your belly button sort of area, fine. So we're fine all right at the moment.
It's essentially a dress, isn't it? A toga, as I've realised when I popped it on about an hour ago.
They're breezy.
It is very liberating. But at the same time, I mean, you think your face was a picture. Obviously, I told you that to expect a surprise. I don't think anything prepared Jace for when I walked out of the bedroom and he walked out at the same time, and with no context whatsoever.
Okay, so I think we need to... So, okay, obviously there's going to be a screenshot of this on the video if you're watching it on YouTube, which is the only place you can watch this, so what am I talking about? But Blake is currently adorned in a very nice-looking toga and, little sort of upper arm bracelet things. I don't really know what to call them, but yeah, no, looking very fancy. And I'm just here in, a T-shirt and jeans because I've, misread the situation.
The unfortunate thing is I've not got very big biceps, so the armbands keep slipping down. So one of them almost fell in the toilet earlier.
Okay, do we have an intro for this?
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I'm just going to go for it. So, welcome everyone to this very special edition of Going in Raw, the wrestling podcast, starring myself, Blake, Richardus Maximus in a toga, and my tag team partner, Nathan. He's over there.
Hello.
And today we're going to be talking about WrestleMania 9. It's the first big show we've ever done. And it's a mess, as much like my costume is.
This feels weird. This is the first time we've not opened up with a "Hey Nathan" bit.
Yeah, to be fair, I think I've kind of thrown that format out the window by coming wearing a bed sheet.
Sure. Well,
Nathan.
Whatever. That's
It's drafty in this house, and it keeps going up my Dumpton gap. I don't like it.
Okay. Fucking roll the music.
WrestleMania 9, it comes from us from the Las Vegas Caesars Palace on April the 4th, 1993. And on the commentary team tonight, we have Bobby Heenan, Randy Savage, Mean Gene Okerlund, who's doing some backstage work, and the first ever appearance on WWF television of one JR Jim Ross.
Yeah, who is someone I know that both of us are pretty big fans of in terms of commentary, like when we've seen him late 90s, early 2000s. So I'm very happy to see him working on this one because we need as many sort of bright lights to clasp onto during these dark times.
Yeah, the whole event is hosted by Gorilla Monsoon, who opens up the show.
Who shows up 3 times. He's getting his money's worth on this one, and I mean, I'm assuming he's been paid thousands of dollars to turn up, and he's like, right, I'm going to be on camera for 10 minutes.
Yeah, he basically, it starts off with a backstage section where he's standing in front of a bust of Caesar, I believe, and there's 2 women on each side of this bust of Caesar. And he basically says, oh, hello, much like I have done. Welcome to WrestleMania 9. I'm wearing a toga. It's April 4th, 1993. Let's get cracking with it. It cuts to Jim Ross standing by ringside, I guess you'd say. It's an outdoor arena. He's standing by ringside wearing a toga, a much nicer one than mine. And it actually kind of suits him, really, to be honest. And he looks incredibly, incredibly young. He's got no hat. His hair is a lovely colour of brown. And he's just talking 100 miles an hour. And it suits him. Wearing a toga, to be honest. And he basically just runs down the card for us and lets us know what to expect. So basically half doing Gorilla Monsoon's job for him anyway by being a host.
Yeah. Oh, I should also mention to the lovely people who are listening in, this is, we're doing this one a little differently, obviously because WrestleMania was 3 hours long, or near enough in this case. This isn't like an immediate reaction. We watched the WrestleMania 9 yesterday, and we took our notes and we've regrouped today to get this recording in, because otherwise it would have taken us roughly 6 hours to get this episode done, and I don't have that kind of stamina, especially not after watching WrestleMania 9.
Well, I think that's the thing, isn't it? I mean, because it is such a long show, we sort of sat down and discussed it yesterday when we finished watching it, and after, it felt like I got battered around the back of the head with a cricket bat yesterday watching WrestleMania 9, just to give people a warning what is coming. I was just sitting there drooling, almost horizontal by the end, wasn't I? Just in despair.
Well, that's the thing, because, like, I'm not going to spoil anything, but I didn't find much of this WrestleMania boring. It was just distressing. And I will say, like, I mentioned it to Blake sort of a couple of hours afterwards. I did a little bit of research to see what the general consensus of this one was, because Blake had told me sort of a couple of the matches in this one are considered like some of the worst matches in WrestleMania history. And from what I can gather, sort of a wrestling magazine sort of polled its audience for like to order best to worst WrestleManias, and this WrestleMania was second worst, apparently.
Yeah, closely followed. I think the worst one was WrestleMania 11, wasn't it? So we've got that one to look forward to.
Yes, 2 years after this one.
Oh, God. At least next year it's going to go up a little bit. It's going to be better.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be much better, probably.
Unless the bottom three of the list goes 10, 9, and then 11, right at the bottom.
No, it's not that bad, thankfully. A bit of an off topic, but do you want to know what do you want to have a guess what the number one rated was?
What, the best one ever?
Yeah.
WrestleMania 17.
Is that 2001?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Okay, yeah, you're right.
I knew I was right. Rock and Austin, man.
Yeah, Rock and Austin, that's the one.
Yeah. So we start off with like a procession of Roman-dressed people coming out of the kind of gorilla position, and they've got live animals. No gorillas, unfortunately, but there's a real-life elephant that's carrying actors who are playing Caesar and Cleopatra on the back.
Yeah.
And their costumes look pretty, like, a lot better than mine. They look actually, like, you know, made for them. Yeah, it's got, like, lots of music in the background. It looks like a shit Gladiator movie, straight away.
Yeah, it looks very
like,
low budget. But
there's like bargain basement Russell Crowe on an elephant right at the beginning.
Yeah.
There's an alpaca, and that leads the procession of Macho Man, who's coming out next, laying on a bed being carried by Roman slaves, I guess you'd call them.
Okay. I guess like just large, strong-looking men.
Yeah, like gladiators, I guess would probably be a better word. Yeah. And he's being fed grapes by, we are led to believe, a bunch of virgins. But these aren't like nerdy D&D virgins. These are like hot babe virgins.
Well, we're playing D&D tomorrow, Blake.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? Like, and he's not wearing a toga. He's just wearing like a Roman-themed Macho Man outfit.
Yeah, it's sort of like lovely white gold colour, but it's not a toga.
No,
and we were promised that he was going to have the finest toga in all the land.
Yeah, I think obviously because the whole tagline and the reason why I'm dressed like a prick is because they said it was going to be the world's biggest toga party.
Yeah, so that's largest toga party ever.
So they have a quick interview between JR and Macho Man, and they basically just discuss, you know, how everyone's feeling. They're kind of hyping up the crowd, hyping up us at home, and it's a bright, sunny day in Las Vegas, and it looks hot. People are sweating already.
Yeah.
So it's probably good that we're wearing togas.
Yeah, but I don't know whether it's just because Macho Man is hot or because of something that we're going to discuss later that Macho might have done backstage, but Macho's a mess today. Like, in terms of talking, he is just a rambling, incoherent, bumbling mess. Like, it's just, Jim goes to war, yeah. Like, it's just that throughout the entire evening.
I think at some point he just stops speaking English and just evolves into, like, basically talking in tongues, just growling, the only time beeping and wobbling.
The only times I could understand what he was saying was when he was being very rude to one of our other co-commentators who is about to walk in.
Yes, well, you
say walk in, but Nathan, straddle in.
It cuts to the runway and an ostrich comes down. Who
isn't the one who Macho Man's cruel to?
Yeah, that isn't the third commentator. Just, you know, an ostrich just on the end, and then behind the ostrich comes a camel, and on that camel, riding backwards, so facing like away from the arena and everybody, in a big billowy blue toga, is Bobby the Brain Heenan.
Who we've seen a couple of times so far on this show.
So I said to you, I imagine what's happened is they made him mount the camel in the dark, and he's just grabbed the hump and ended up getting on backwards.
And the thing is, like, when he makes it to sort of ringside where the commentary desk is, like, that camel nearly kills him.
It's great.
Like, it's sort of like, it starts to go down, then it jumps back up, and it starts to get a bit leery, and like, oh, fuck, this camel's going to end Bobby Heenan.
It's all going to kick off. The ostrich is going to come in and start pecking his head.
And Bobby Heenan said that, like, afterwards when he was having a bit of a moan about it, he said, "Oh, I think that was an attack camel." And I didn't realise they existed, but I'm eager to see some like camels in war now.
Yeah, I mean, if we can militarise, you know, the horse of the desert, the camel, then we're laughing. And Macho Man decides to pull up his toga and show off his blue underpants, Bobby Heenan's blue underpants.
Yeah, he's just wearing some, like, dark blue little Y-fronts.
Yeah, I mean, he's wearing more pants than I am. And they all sit down at the commentary desk, and we move towards our first match of WrestleMania, our opening contest of WrestleMania 9. Very, very, very exciting. It's Shawn Michaels, who is the current Intercontinental Champion, taking on Tatanka. So we've had a big build of this for a good couple of weeks now.
Yeah, we've talked about it many times in the podcast, how much we're looking forward to this match, because Tatanka's been an absolute barnstormer of a performer, and Shawn Michaels, from what we've seen so far, like, the thing I love most about him is how he can oversell everything that's done to him.
Yeah, he's fantastic. He comes out, Shawn Michaels does, with Luna Vachon from the Fighting Vachon family,
he looks fucking ridiculous as well.
So Luna Vachon is another member of the Oddities from the 2000s with Gonzalez and Golga and people like that. And yeah, he's wearing his big Pat Butcher earrings, again, the championship belt, some kind of cut-off sort of chaps, I guess you call them, but they've got a bum on them. They're not assless, don't worry. And then he's got like a jacket, well, not really a jacket, a pair of sleeves with long dangly chains on them, each one adorned with a cross, a Christian cross.
Yeah, it looks like one of those things that you put over a door to stop flies getting in.
I said to you, what I thought it was going to be was it was adorned with many different religious symbols, so he could fend off the incoming mummy that's going to be coming in. Like,
I was going to say, like the guy in the mummy
movie. So we go back to the runway, and the entrance of Tatanka begins, and there's a big fight feel. Like, the energy is palpable, and I'm excited.
Yeah, because Tatanka, like, whenever his music hits, he runs out of that room, and he has a long way to run this time.
Yeah, it's a big,
like, he does a 100-meter dash up to the stadium.
It's kind of like, you know, that bit in Lord of the Rings 2 with the orc with the torch when he tries to blow up Minas Mirith or whatever it is, and they're like, take him down, and they're shooting those arrows into him, and then he jumps and blows up the wall. It's kind of like that sort of speed he's running at.
And he's wielding a tomahawk above his head as well, so he's going in for the fucking kill tonight.
Yeah, right, exactly. He's going to totally, like, straight up Nightwolf him. Just adjusting my armband, sorry. So yeah, right. Tatanka is chomping at the bit to get to Shawn Michaels. Like, he is eager. Shawn Michaels is taking his time, taking off all of his various adornments and his various kind of ring gear.
Yeah, he spends forever taking that off. Did you mention that Tatanka came out with Sensational Sherry?
Well, Sensational Sherry just sort of appears at ringside, like, after him, doesn't she? She doesn't do...
Well, that's the thing. I assume that they're supposed to come out together, but she wasn't going to run in those heels.
That's what I'm saying. So I imagine she walked out after him. Like, he was like, ready? And as soon as the music hit, he was just gone, like a sprinter. He put a run in, and she was like, well, I'm not doing that. So So she wakes away to be, so yes, you're right. Sensational Sherry does join them at ringside. And we believe, we're not quite sure yet, there's a bit of confusion which side she's on, and that kind of comes into the match later. We believe
because
that she's with Tatanka.
Yeah, that's sort of the stick that was in Royal Rumble between Shawn Michaels and, I forget his name, but the one who was partnered with
Marty
Bret
Jannetty.
Hart. Marty Jannetty, yeah.
Yeah, that was the whole angle
that's sort of, following up from that further.
So we begin the match, the bell goes, and there's a slow start. So they're really taking their time to let you feel the electricity and the energy between these two performers. The crowd are electric to begin with. On a hot day, they are really, really energetic, and they're really, really making lots of noise, and they're cheering and they're hollering and they're whooping and they're having a lovely time. The action starts in earnest with Shawn Michaels taking Tatanka down, and then again and then again. They go into a lockup, move into like a chicken wing. There's some lovely chain wrestling with Shawn Michaels in control. They break apart from that. They go back into a lockup. Then Shawn goes into a side headlock, and he maintains control of the side headlock as he runs up the turnbuckle and kind of almost bulldogs him. And there's a near fall. Tatanka returns the favour with a huge slam, and then just goes into his bread and butter: chops, Irish whips. He's running Shawn Michaels back up and down the ring. There's a scrappy escape Shawn does. So Tatanka then comes off the top rope and gives him a top rope flying arm drag, which is a crisp thing at Beauty.
Yeah, the wrestling at the start of this match is phenomenal. Like I was saying to Blake while we were watching it, like it really feels like both Shawn and Tatanka have been studying each other and know each other's moves and know exactly how to counter everything each other does. So like even when Tatanka's at his strongest, like Shawn Michaels is able to reverse him or like counter him in some way, and it's phenomenal to begin with. It's
really lovely storytelling, like you say, in the fact that they've had a few exhibition matches together, and they had that 6-man, didn't they, where one of them was with the Nasty Boys and the other with the Beverly Brothers. And like you say, it feels like it's the culmination of those 3 matches now, of the experience between the two. So each of them knows the other one's bread and butter and has kind of worked to counter out, and then they've worked to counter out in response to that.
Yeah, it's a good way to build a WrestleMania match and then have a solid finish to that storyline. But it's on first for some reason.
Yeah, this was the weird thing. I mean, obviously, Intercontinental title obviously isn't in the same bag as the World Championship. Of course not. But you tend to stagger them out, wouldn't you? You would kind of go build up. So you'd kind of have maybe that on as the pre-main event or the one just before the pre-main event. So in that kind of slot there, but halfway through the show, really, to keep the energy up. But by the by, it's how they wanted to do it, I guess.
And, that's fine.
So there's a drop kick from Shawn Michaels. They go into the apron, and there's an Irish whip. So Shawn Michaels is on the apron after the Irish whip, and Tatanka just chops him off, like swats him like a fly off the apron, and he falls down to the concrete. Luna starts to come around the side to help up Shawn Michaels, and Sherry's straight in there. There's no physical contact between those two yet, but it's a kind of a case of if you try and interfere, I'm here to basically neutralise you and your impact in the match.
And like the commentators are putting over that Sherry is a dangerous person.
Yeah.
Like Luna might be scary, but Sherry can kill people if she wants to.
Shawn Michaels tries to come back in the ring, and Tatanka just keeps swatting him off. So eventually Shawn gets him with an eye poke and works his way back in. He does a top rope sunset flip. This is Shawn Michaels, which is breathtaking. There's a near fall from that. It's a bit of a sloppy near fall and a bit of a sloppy following up with the Irish whip and the reverse. It's obviously hot. The guys are slippery, and the contact is fleeting. It still looks great, but it's a bit dicey looking.
Yeah, because Tatanka looks oily on like the best of days.
Yeah,
so I'd hate to imagine what his texture is at this point.
It's like trying to wrestle jelly, I imagine. Like you just can't grip it properly.
Yeah. Also, like, as they're sort of falling on the outside, I noticed that even, like, all the crew are in togas as well. Like, all of the, the cameramen. Yeah, they said they would be. What confuses me later is that even the first aid people are in togas, and I don't think that's safe.
I didn't see that. I didn't pick up
I'm not going to say who gets carried out on a stretcher, but even the first aid folks are in togas.
Oh, that's brilliant. Okay, I've changed my mind. Wrestlemania 9 is amazing. I love it.
And, like, for some reason... at one point, I think it might be Shawn Michaels like jumping off the top rope or the turnbuckle or whatever, but Bobby Heenan claims the turnbuckle is 70 feet in the air.
Oh yeah, I heard this.
And that only
flew about
that
70
only
feet
gets
in the air.
higher. That only gets higher later in the episode.
Yeah, as they sort of discuss the height, it's because Jim Ross has come on board, so like his over-exaggeration of height obviously begins all the way back in 1993. Obviously, like he's always on about, oh, he fell 1,000 feet. He's entered the atmosphere.
and as if to like punctuate that Macho's in a strange mood, at one point he just finishes a mumbling sentence that I couldn't like comprehend with just the phrase, "If you were me."
He's very strange all night. I reckon. Like I say, I don't. Well, there's a rumor about what's happened, but I don't quite know what's happened to him. But I think it's just the heat. He's wearing a lot of clothes. He's dehydrated. He's sweating. Yeah. He's probably coked himself up before the show, so that's dehydration as well. I don't know that obviously, but I imagine he has. And he's just in a bizarre, kind of an alternate dimension. He sort of seems to exist in this one. There is a lot of really good action like that. So there's a lot of kind of atomic drops by Tatanka and chops. Shawn Michaels kind of crouches down for a big back body drop and gets a DDT. They kind of trade a sort of elbows and punches and stuff. Tatanka begins to work over the left arm of Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels runs in to try and squash him in the corner, like spear him. Tatanka moves and he smashes his arm into the steel post. So then they start working the arm. And this is where the speed of it kind of slows down a little bit and the pace slows down a little bit. There's some like standing blows, a shoulder breaker, some big elbows. Tatanka goes up and jumps, and now all of his moves are targeted at that shoulder. So all of his chops and things are on that shoulder. So once he's delivered that kind of diving chop, he goes back up to do it again and jumps his way straight into Shawn Michaels' super kick, and he just crumples like a cheap suit. It's great. Tatanka gets thrown over the ropes, and Luna and Sherry again kind of meet eye to eye as Luna tries to come in and attack Tatanka. Sherry comes around the corner and says, "Back off," and the tension between the two of them is building. Like they're getting closer now to actually sort of physically having a punch up, basically. Handbags at dawn.
Yeah, I mean, you know sort of a bit more about this era than I do. Like, there wasn't really a women's division at this point, was there?
Not that I know of, no. I mean, I've not seen...
Because I know the divas don't, as they call it, sort of turn up for a good few years at this point.
I think basically, if you're a woman in wrestling, your jobs at the moment are manager, are eye candy,
love interest.
Basically, thing to fight over, essentially, unfortunately so.
Put her on a pole.
Yeah, exactly right, or in a cage, suspend her above the ring, and then, you've got to try and get her down with a big winch or something, I don't know.
Or just, like, ask Giant Gonzalez nicely.
He might be able to reach up and pluck her out the sky like King Kong. I've not gone so in depth with the moves in this one because obviously we have got a lot to get through, so I'm not going to be calling it so in depth as I normally do. So if we just visual search a little bit, because we do kind of devolve into this, the match goes on, we both said we feel a bit too long.
This like even like after I mean, you know it's coming, but even after Tatanka goes on the warpath where he does his like little run and then hulks up, basically, like it goes on for so long after that. Usually that's a signal to say like, okay, this match is done in 2 more minutes. But it drags on for like another 5 or even more than that afterwards. Yeah,
so we kind of wonder, is it because it's WrestleMania, so they've got more time, so then they're going to let the guys wrestle longer, but they've only really planned a normal length match, so to speak. So that's the amount of moves they've got. It's a normal length match, so they're just slowing the spots down, maybe. I'm not quite sure. We do kind of bring the pace down. Shawn Michaels ends up in a situation where he diving clotheslines off the apron to Tatanka and then comes back in, and then he begins to keep Tatanka out of the ring by kind of kicking and stomping and things like that. There's like a swinging neck breaker from Tatanka and a near fall. There's a drop kick and a near fall, a reverse chin lock. And like you say, that's when Tatanka begins to hulk up. They work their way to the corner. And Shawn Michaels has this weird looking victory roll that he tries to put in. So he kind of climbs onto Tatanka's shoulders, but he's not sitting in a Hurricane Rana position. He's kind of like just draped over one arm. And then they have to try and work that into a victory roll. So it looks really scrappy and odd. But yeah, so that's the only downside, I think, for the match in terms of bad angles or bad wrestling or slightly wrong moves, I guess.
But I mean, generally these two are like pretty solid wrestlers. I think we can agree. So we don't really expect to see much like wrong with them. Like there are people who show up later who do infinitely worse, but we kind of expect it from them.
With these guys, I think maybe we've set the bar higher. So those sort of things we'd forgive other wrestlers for, we then scrutinise because we are expecting so much more from them, so to speak.
Yeah.
I guess that might be where I'm at mentally. But yeah, so we basically come to the end of the match where Shawn Michaels, he ends up getting sort of like after the Hulk up, he ends up getting chopped and then getting a cross rope top body. A top rope cross body. I can't speak.
Yeah, is that not what you said? Oh, no, I said sort of like
I said a cross rope top body. I said, God, I can't complain ever again about people being marble mouthed on commentary now. I've lost my right to do that. He ends up sort of catching Shawn Michaels off the top rope into a spinning slam. There's a near fall. They go to the outside, and Shawn Michaels drags the referee out of the ring to buy himself some time because he's getting battered. Basically, he comes back in. Tatanka hits him with another Samoan drop, puts him in the pin. The referee kind of he wakes up from being knocked unconscious by Shawn Michaels pulling him to the floor. I don't know. And he looks at the situation, the pinning predicament, and rather than counting, he signals for the bell.
Which is fucked up.
We're like, okay, hang on, wait a minute, what's happening now? So Tatanka kind of gets up, Shawn gets up, everyone's looking around a bit confused, and then it goes to, this happens a lot this evening, just to sort of let you know what to expect. It goes to the announcer, Howard Finkel, Finkus Maximus, and he says that the decision of the match is a count out. The victor is Tatanka, but because it's a count out victory, Shawn Michaels doesn't lose the belt. And
it's fucking bullshit.
At that point, I should have thrown my notebook at the TV screen, gone and had a beer, and we should have done something else.
At the same time, like this is a thing that like WWE, WWF pulls a lot, where it's like, oh, we want to keep like the heel with the belt for a while longer. So even though it makes sense for the face to win this, like we're gonna have them win by technicality, but they're not gonna get the belt. Like that's something that happens a lot, and it's a rule they like to stick to a lot, where in an event of a disqualification, the belt stays with the heel.
Precisely. As a long-standing rule, heel or face, if you get counted out or you get disqualified, you lose the match but keep the belt. It's very important that we establish there's a long-running precedent of this to the point where matches still end on that decision today. So let's just keep that in mind. Now, the bit I wanted to bring up, which I think is even stranger, is the fact that it's not a disqualification, it's a count-out. But the thing is...
Yeah.
Okay, so Shawn Michaels pulls referee down, attacks the official. That's a disqualification.
Yeah.
And then the referee wakes up. He hasn't been counting to 10, so he doesn't know how long Shawn Michaels has been on the outside for, and declares it a count out. So do we think it's just a mix up in the verbiage, or do we think there was something we missed here? Because they definitely say count out.
I don't know. Like my assumption at the time was that the officials wanted to say, well, we want him to lose by disqualification, but we don't want to call it a disqualification because that completely negates all the effort that Tatanka has put in, who is the rightful winner of this. So we'll make it sound as though Tatanka has done extra effort than just earn a disqualification for Shawn, but we're also not going to put in enough effort to the point where he actually wins and leaves with the belt.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I think the thing is to keep in mind as well, Tatanka at the moment, he's still on his undefeated streak. So it's even more important for them not to have him just lose straight out now, so that they can use that later on for storyline purposes that he's finally lost his first match. So I think they book themselves into a corner where they're like, we want to have Tatanka versus Shawn. We want Shawn to keep the belt because of storyline reasons we assume what's coming next in the next couple of weeks on Raw. But obviously we need to make sure Tatanka wins, and this was kind of the weird compromise they came up with, I guess.
Yeah, and like you say, like that's something that happens a lot, like throughout the history of WWF. That's fine. It's a classic storytelling thing, but it's sort of one of those things that if you're gonna do it, maybe do it like once a night, once a show. Yeah. If you can, spread it across multiple shows rather than like one every week or whatever. Anyway, shall we move on?
Yeah. So just keep that in mind that we've mentioned that. So it goes to an interview in the backstage area with Mean Gene Okerlund, and he's interviewing the Steiner brothers. In the background is a bust of Augustus, I think. I'm showing my lack of Roman knowledge now. And
It's just like a very cheap looking, like, quote unquote marble like statue.
Yeah, like it's like plaster of Paris or something. Like it looks like it's made out of. And he's interviewing the Steiner brothers, and Mean Gene's wearing a toga as well, with a lovely kind of olive headpiece, an olive branch headpiece thing. The Steiner brothers come in not wearing togas, but they've got to wrestle, so I imagine that's fine. And it's basically kind of building up their match that they're having next against the head shrinkers, Rikishi, Fatu, and Samu. And they're basically saying, these Samoan boys, they're cray-cray, but we're the Steiners. We come from Michigan State University. Very important that we all know that for some reason. Love University of Michigan, who apparently won some sort of basketball game or football game, whatever, the week before. And they're going to win, and it's their first ever WrestleMania for the Steiner brothers.
The thing that hurts me here is, I think it was either last week or the week before, like, obviously Gene and Macho had like a little, like a little conversation about, we're going to wear togas, we're going to look great. Like, they were being very chummy about like how they were going to like look fantastic in their togas. First of all, Macho hasn't even turned up in a toga, which is an insult to their promise. Second of all, when they cut back, Macho says Gene looks stupid.
Yeah, I reckon he's proper stitched him up here. He's going, can you believe it? I've got him to wear a toga, and I'm not going to wear one. I reckon that's what's happening.
It just feels, I feel bad for Gene. It's like he's been stood up on a date.
Yeah, do you ever have that thing like where you get like a party and you always tell one person in the party, oh yeah, by the way, it's fancy dress, but it's not. And they show up just like a fucking Smurf or whatever, and everyone was just wearing normal clothes. Do you ever do that? It's kind of like that.
I've thankfully never had it done to me, no.
It's proper stitched him up. He's made like a right prick. So we go to the ring, and there's a bit of a messing about to start with. Like, no one really quite knows who's going to start off the match against who. So there's a bit of debate, people coming in and out, whatever. And it starts off with Fatu versus Scott. And they have a lock-up, an arm drag, a takedown, an arm bar. Fatu takes over momentum. There's some shoving. Then they start trading punches, which I think the last thing you want to do if you're fighting the Steiner brothers is encourage them to try and punch you in the face.
But it's okay because the head shrinkers like to smack their heads together, so their skulls are practically bulletproof, according to the commentary.
They drank a punch antidote before the match began, and they can't be hurt by punches. There's a big clothesline, which they start calling the Steiner line, which sounds like an insurance company.
Did we cover the fact that after the Tatanka and Shawn Michaels match, there was a little bit of a scrap between Luna and Sherry?
Oh, no, we didn't. I must apologise. You're quite right. So Tatanka wins the match, but Shawn Michaels keeps the belt. Tatanka celebrates in the ring, and you're quite right. That's when Luna and Sherry go at it, and it's mad.
Yeah, like Luna murders Sherry.
She boots her in the stomach.
It's vicious outside.
And Tatanka sort of comes out onto the outside area, and he's like shouting like, medic! It's like a war film, medic! And Sherry's like, oh God, I'm too weak. I can't do it. And I thought Tatanka was going to pick her up and carry her like that bit in The Bodyguard. Not all the way to the... Like, but sprint still.
He sort of like, he cupped her under like the head and the legs. It looked like he was going to pick her up and carry her out of the stadium like a proper gentleman. But no, he just sort of cradles her for a bit. And we assume that someone comes and picks her up.
Eventually, yeah. And then we move on to the interview. When we come back from the interview, it's a good thing you mentioned that, actually. Jim Ross mentions on the commentary desk that she's been taken to the medical centre of Caesar's Palace to receive further medical attention. So that's important. So keep that in mind. That's where she is at the moment. But going back to the action in the match, there's a Steiner line. There's a Fatu pokes him in the eye, and they work into the corner.
Somewhat, I can't remember who said it. I think it might have been Macho. He said something like, "Oh, thumb to the eye. That's not scientific."
I think what he was saying basically was, it's dirty, it's simple, but it'll get the job done.
Yeah.
I often find a thumb applied in the right area, Nathan, does the trick.
It's all you need.
Sometimes it is. You don't need anything scientific. You just need a good application of the thumb, and it'll get you to where you need to be.
Don't need your whirring gizmos here. Just get one good thumb. All you scientist boffins.
7 speeds my arse. So Rick tags in and gets thrown. The Steiners go up and they deliver like double diving shoulder blocks, which is like a really nice high spot for the match. And because it's all outside and in the open air, you've got all the sunlight on it, and it looks really nice. Like, the film quality looks okay. It looks a bit grainy and a bit 1993, but in terms of production value, it looks like a pleasant sunny day, and it looks like it's a delight to be there watching wrestling.
Yeah, like the crowd, like at this point, they're still having a great time.
And I think, to be fair, it doesn't really. We felt fatigued and we felt that it dropped, but I think the crowd only really drop about probably at the hour 2 mark.
There's one particular match where they fall dead quiet.
Oh yes, you're quite right. Yeah,
but yeah, like after that, like when the crowd pleasers come back out,
yeah,
that's when things start picking up again.
So Sammy works him over and explodes out the corner. Then Rick takes over from that. Scott comes in. There's a double underhook slam, a drop kick. Then on the outside, the action works right to the outside, and one of them, Steiner brothers, gets hit by a cane from the manager of the Head Shrinkers, like a bamboo cane thing, and it makes like a cracking noise in the arena, like it explodes across the arena. It's pretty cool.
Is it not like a kendo stick?
A kendo stick tends to be many different slivers of like stick held together.
Oh, okay, I thought it was
elastic. This was like just a thick like bit of bamboo, basically, is what it's supposed to look like. So they come back in, they get worked over. There's a diving headbutt and a near fall. That near fall gets broken up by Rick, and then it just devolves into that kind of ponderous pinging about. And everyone seems to be wrestling at like half speed. Like no one seems to be in a rush.
No, I mean, we said this while we were watching it, but it's like, it feels very much like they were told, okay, this has to go on for 3 hours. People have paid good money to get in here. I know you usually only wrestle for like 5 minutes, but try and stretch it out to 10 or 15 if you can.
So, yeah, I mean, it does feel like it does drag on. I mean, we basically end up messing around in the ring and Scott gets worked over for ages and ages and ages. He hits a reverse backdrop, gets a little bit of a hope spot, gets a super kick, and then there's some heel work done by the Head Shrinkers, double teaming. Scott fights out, goes towards to get to Rick to get the hot tag, gets denied. Then there's like a cool double team maneuver by the Head Shrinkers where they get him off the electric chair drop and then clothesline him, near fall, tries to get to the hot tag, denied. And it's just stuff like that constant ebb and flow of just build up to the hot tag and then come back again, build up to the hot tag, come back again. And it's like it could have happened a good 5 minutes before it did, and the match wouldn't have lost anything. Pacing wise, it would have been a lot more swift and direct. Eventually,
I will say though, as someone who's been like watching like the Raws leading up to this, it's nice to finally see the Steiners get like demolish themselves.
Yeah, it's nice that they get a bit of payback, I guess, and it's like a more of a 50-50 match.
The Steiners have always been like they've always been stiff and rough as hell, like to everyone they've gone against. It's never been like a squash, but it's always been pretty obvious they were going to win this. This is the first time they've ever seen in any sort of actual despair, and like the Head Shrinkers seem to like go easily match how like stiff they are. Like,
yeah, I think a lot
it really looks rough on them.
A lot of the Head Shrinker offense of like not being able to be damaged in the head is probably good for them, considering the Steiners are always going to try and drop you on your head.
Yeah.
So there's like a cool double team maneuver, near fall, and then we finally get the hot tag. And Rick comes out of the corner like an absolute train, on fire, full of fireworks. And it's just a flurry of slams and clotheslines and punches and Steiner lines and big crazy spinning slams. And there's like a double face plant by the Head Shrinkers to stop his momentum. So basically they kind of, both of them grab his head and then just slam him into the canvas. And then they get like a really cool double team maneuver. So they put him up in the electric chair drop again. This is Rick this time. And then one of the Head Shrinkers jumps off of the top rope to try and like tackle him off the shoulders. But Rick catches that member of the Head Shrinkers and turns it from being on top of the other one's shoulders into a spinning slam.
Yeah, which, I mean, it makes sense that he'd be able to do that because he's usually the one who's initiating, like, the Steiner's own version of that, like, where one of them is bulldogged off the other's shoulders.
But it's crazy. It's cool. That's the best bit of the match straight away. That's easily the best bit.
Easily, yeah.
It was breathtaking. I went, I haven't done that in weeks and weeks and weeks of Raw. So I was quite excited to see that. So then they kind of tag Scott in, and he goes like a belly to belly to the Head Shrinkers. A really messy, I know I said it before, his Frankensteiner is bordering on the lethal, but this was quite a messy Frankensteiner. And the Steiner brothers win. Yeah,
well, the Frankensteiner in general didn't look like it connected quite as well as they usually do. Like, it, because obviously, like, part of the Frankensteiner is that being a sort of Hurricane Rana style remove, like the victim of it needs to sort of throw themselves forward along with it to make it look real. And it felt like, was it Fatu or Samu who got pinned? Like
I'm honestly not sure.
No, I wasn't sure either, but it looks like there was like a half-second delay between like the motion of the Steiner and the actual flinging of themselves forward. So it didn't quite look to me that it was well timed.
So it was kind of like almost he was like say a half second behind. So he started to move away, and then he was like, wasn't quite ready to do the jump, and then jumped and flipped himself over.
Yeah, just like barely missed his cue was all.
Now, we did get an answer to one of the great wrestling unsolved mysteries we were discussing a few weeks ago, though, when it turns out I was right that it is Rick that they refer to as the dog-faced gremlin.
Yes, because he actually has a gremlin tattoo on his shoulder.
And I was thrilled to find out I was right, and then I quickly got bored of hearing every single move that Rick did, called by Jim, dog-face with a Steiner line there. Dog face with a diving attack there. Dog face.
He's just trying to fit in, bless him.
And I was like, he has got a name.
I'm getting secondary school flashbacks.
It did sort of feel like bullying after a while, didn't it? It's like leave him in his dog face alone.
Well, to be fair, like he's getting it like all evening from Bobby Heenan as well. Like for no reason, Bobby just keeps bringing up the fact that he's from Oklahoma as if that's a bad thing.
Yeah, there's a lot of vitriol from the commentary, isn't there? Like Bobby Heenan, obviously he's supposed to be the bad guy and stuff, but I don't know whether I feel like it's bordering on there is actually a personal issue between them and Jim. Like, because it's constantly, what would you know? You're from Oklahoma. Do Oklahoma have cars?
Maybe there's a reason that JR doesn't stick around for long.
Maybe. And I like the fact that Macho Man, he sides with Jim Ross all the time, though. He's like, well, what would you know, Bobby Heenan? You can't ride a camel. So it's nice that, Macho Man sticking up for his new mate, Jim Ross.
Oh, and also we should mention that we get the unfortunate news that halfway through the match, Sensational Sherry was attacked at the first aid station.
Yeah, so Luna, not being happy to batter a woman in front of a live studio audience, has now gone into a medical tent, as I imagine it is, in Caesar's Palace, leapt over like a bunch of machinery, like EKG machines and like heart monitors and stuff.
Like she's getting defibrillated at the time.
And like starts like laying it, like, they didn't say this, but I can imagine like a bedpan around, just battering her with a bedpan. Like they tip over.
Just grabbing whatever syringes she can find and stabbing them into it.
Just full of various, medicines and adrenaline and stuff. Like, stabs her, she comes back to life, she goes, oh shit, stabs her with morphine, she goes back down again. So yeah, a heinous, horrible attack there by Luna on Sensational Show. Leave the poor woman alone. You've done the damage.
She's had enough.
Exactly right. She's had enough of a battering, leave her be. We then go to another interview. By Mean Gene Oakland. And this interview features Doink the Clown. And Doink the Clown, very funnily, he has desecrated the bust in the background.
Yeah, he's done a Joker.
Yeah, it reminded me of the 1989 Jack Nicholson's Joker thing. Like, I expected Prince to start playing and him to do like a bit of a dance in the art gallery.
Party man.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, that's what I could think of. And Mean Gene saying like, we get a bit more backstory on Doink's level of like how evil he is. Because he says, you're always playing mean tricks on kids. You're like spraying them with water or like stuff like that. And
he just assaults children, apparently.
Basically, that's basically what they're saying. And he's saying, and the character of Doink the Clown is really interesting. And the guy that plays Doink the Clown is a good actor in terms of he can go from laughing manically like the Joker to then just sort of going dead like in his facial expression and looking really evil. That's
the thing, he comes across as really intimidating.
I find him quite an intimidating force in terms of like if it was like a fist fight or like I met him in a dark alley or whatever, or I'd have a children's birthday party and I've got him because he's cheap and he arrives, I'm like, well, I'm not going to...
He starts assaulting all the children.
I'm not going to pay him because he's going to stab me in the eye. So they have a quick chat about what's been going on, and they basically bring up the attack on Crush that happened a few weeks ago, and we see that replay again, and we get the same build up, the same shots, the same scared woman when he pulls his arm
Love
off.
her.
And we also get on the commentary, I don't know if I noticed this before, but they're saying basically putting over the fact that they think he has pulled his own arm off. Like, can you believe it?
Which is clear. It's clear from the fucking angle that he's wielding that fake arm with 2 arms. You don't need to put over that he's so desperate to hurt Crush that he literally ripped off his own arm.
It's stupid. It's really stupid. And Doink says, well, I think that maybe in this match you want to watch out because Crush may end up seeing double. And we were like,
yeah, he says he's going to see double vision, which reminds me, I need to watch the end of WandaVision today.
Yeah, same. I'm doing that after this actually, so I'll let you know what I think. And I was like, oh no, because I know what that means, and I know what's going to happen. And I'm like, there's going to be 2 of them, isn't there?
It was pretty much when he said that I thought, oh great, Doink's gonna win, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, I thought, okay, I was holding on hope. I was thinking, what could they do? I was like, okay, well, they could have 2 of them, but then Crush beats 2 of them. Like maybe he pushes both of their heads together in that squashing move that he does, and they both give up. Maybe, I don't know.
They both break like coconuts.
How can we get around this? But there we go. So the interview ends with him saying, obviously, he's going to have double vision. And then he goes off to the ring, laughing and joking and having a great time. And it cuts straight from that interview section to him coming out with his evil music again. And he kind of walks to the middle of the ring. And there's a lot of kids that look, I reckon, understandably terrified.
Yeah, I mean, especially as like he's just like waving. He's got like a little umbrella with all like the card suits and everything on it, and he's having a whale of a time with that thing. But I wouldn't be surprised if, like the penguin, he just sort of aimed it at one of them and shot them dead.
So I was thinking that like a knife comes out at the end, like the penguin from Batman. And he is kind of giving off that kind of vibe, isn't he? Of like he is dangerous and he's got something up his sleeve, maybe a cast that.
But to return to the point, it must be fucking hot because his makeup is already coming off and he's not even like to the ring.
It's like literally melting off of him. So you can see more of the guy that plays him than normal. It looks like that bit in The Dark Knight where the Joker's hanging out the back of the police car and all his makeup's all smeared off. So he goes.
We're doing a lot of Batman references today.
Yeah, to be fair though, I feel like it's a good angle to go down because obviously when it comes to evil clowns and umbrellas and Catwomen, there's not really any other thing that encapsulates all of those. Crush comes out, Hawaiian Crush, and Bobby Heenan straight away hates Hawaiian Crush because he's Hawaiian, and says, "Well, basically, Jim, you're on the same level as him because you come from Oklahoma, he comes from Hawaii. They're both shit places."
That's the thing. Like you mentioned a second ago that Bobby Heenan, he's there to be the heel commentator. It's a usual thing they do, but he tries too hard. Like you don't have to side with fucking Doink the Clown.
I think the thing is as well, you have to, like you say, pick your battles. And I think you can't just agree with the baddies all the time, regardless. And then you also can't do the thing that I found him doing a lot, which was contradicting yourself within 5 minutes. So what I mean by that is...
Yeah, or the same fucking sentence.
Yeah, so what I mean by that is obviously he will admonish the faces for doing a certain thing and then be okay when the heels do it. And it's okay over the course of an evening if you do that a couple of times, but like I said, in the same sentence, it just comes across as arbitrary and hypocritical for the sake of being a baddie. It's not believable heel work because you don't believe that those are the kind of the values and ideals he holds. And we'll see what I mean at the end of this match when what happens, and we all know what's going to happen, and he has a bit of a rant about it. So we're going to just quickly speed through this one because I hate Doink the Clown.
Yeah, I've not written much for this. So, all I've just written is I don't like the bad clown man.
Make him go away, mother. Remove him from the Chuck E. Cheese. So they run around the ring and Crush gets him with a scoop slam and works him over. And this is what I wanted.
Crush starts killing Doink before his music starts even playing. It's brilliant.
This is what I wanted. 5 minutes of him just battering the shit out of him, pin him, win, end. That would have been perfect for me. I'd have been happy with that. And it's good work from Doink the Clown as well. He's bouncing around, bumping about, and he's begging off. He's putting his hands together going, "No, please, Hawaiian man, don't squash me like a coconut." And he gets beat up. And I'm grinning like a madman. I'm like, good. I've been waiting weeks for this. I'm pleased about this. And then, as this always happens, Doink the Clown takes over the momentum and starts beating up Crush.
But the thing is, it looks so bad because Doink can't throw a convincing punch.
No, he's a good character worker, but a terrible, terrible wrestler. Terrible. And this is one of the ones that when I was looking at worst WrestleMania matches of all time, this was the first one on this card. The first one was this Crush voices Doink.
And I've got to say, like, the crowd are dead for this.
We had a good reaction when Crush came out. They were like, yes, he's going to beat up the evil clown man.
Yeah, but the moment that Doink takes control, it's just silence.
Yeah, everyone just goes dead. They're like, oh, okay, right out. This is what's happening.
This is how it's going, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, I bet this will be considered the worst WrestleMania match ever.
I reckon this, or maybe one in 2 years' time. I don't know what's going to be happening in 2 years, but might be one of the worst WrestleManias ever. So it's basically just evolves into like slowly smacking him off things, like the ring post, the steps, and then Crush kind of fires back. It's a neck breaker, a snapmare. He does some stomps. And then I think that kind of him being shit on offense then goes into him selling as well, because his bumping gets really dodgy. Like, he starts dropping before the punches, and he just looks out of place. He doesn't know where he is.
I mean, with like the amount the makeup's coming off, and like the heat that we've talked about, and the fact we've seen him not like do particularly long matches before, I reckon he's just like exhausted,
blown up, and he genuinely doesn't know where he is. Probably.
No.
I should hope so. I hope Crush actually hit him a bit too hard, and he's just like seeing stars or like little birds or whatever clowns see when they get groggy.
There's at one point, I can't remember what Crush does to Doink. I don't know whether he stamps on his face or if he like punches him really hard in the teeth, but Marta just says, "Oh, and Crush isn't even a dentist." And
then he kicks him in the back, and Matra goes, "Oh, he's not even a chiropractor." So yeah, they go. Then Doink reverses and he goes up top, does a diving elbow. He goes up, does a diving elbow, and then there's a pile driver by Doink. Why give the man who can't wrestle the legitimately scary move that has in real life paralyzed people before and broken Stone Cold Steve Austin's neck? Why
against
give it to
Crush
him?
Of all people, an extremely large and heavy man, and
Right.
I don't mean in like the I mean in like the strong sense.
Yeah,
like he is a
muscly.
buff individual.
Yeah. And it's just, I mean, I think both me and you both were like, got really nervous at this point. And
Yeah,
we
it's
were
like,
okay,
oh fuck, what's he doing?
let's just end the match quickly before someone ends up getting hurt, basically, was what I was thinking by now. There's a scoop slam, and they go up, and Doink jumps off, and he just like kind of Mary Poppins jump, where he jumps off, and it's like, if he didn't get reversed, what move was he going to do? Because he jumps off, and then Crush puts his foot up, and he lands like chin first on Crush's foot. But what move was he going to do there? He was on the ground.
No,
he
he
basically
just
jumped off the top rope onto his own feet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's just trying to scare him.
He's like, bleh. So they go out to the outside of the ring, and then they come back in, and he gives Doink a gorilla press. So like he puts him over his head and just pushes him, like presses him up into the air, and then slams him. And then he locks him into that kind of vice head squash thing. Basically signaling towards the end of the match. They're both still standing, so Doink kind of flails an arm and knocks out the referee. So does 2 ref bumps in 2 matches.
Yeah, this poor ref. Is it the same one as the first match? I can't tell.
I think
there's 2 refs, because there's one with like lots of hair and one with not so much hair.
I think the first match was done by the same guy. So yeah, he's been bumped twice, but he didn't do the Steiner Brothers match. So he did one. It's like they're doing one on, one off, so to speak.
Yeah.
So he gets him in his head squashing, the ref gets knocked out, and then, I can't believe this, who would have thought this would happen? A second Doink comes in the ring.
This one with full makeup.
Yeah, so you know which one's which. And he starts smashing a lead arm over Crush's head. And then both
History
Doinks,
repeats itself.
Yeah, one of the Doinks wakes up the referee while the other Doink pins. And I said to you, Nathan, when the second Doink came out, if Doink the Clown wins this match, I'm never watching wrestling again.
I'm afraid this is the final episode
that's
of Going in Raw.
Podcast over. Because Doink picks up the ring, and I've just written down here in big letters in my notebook, no, I am never watching wrestling again.
But the thing is, like before the second Doink sort of runs off and hides underneath the ring again, they do a funny little mime thing where they're sort of mirroring each other's movements and having a good old giggle. I think that was pretty good of them.
That was cool. I enjoyed the mad energy from them both. And it
has to be said, it's hard to tell which one's the real one, because they like got someone who was identical in physical form.
They do a really good job of like sort of getting a guy with the same face structure. Obviously, you can hide that with the makeup, but the same body type as well. They're both roughly the same size. I think it's probably about an inch in it either way. And they've also got the same kind of body as well, like that kind of not quite good enough to be a wrestler, but still still good enough kind of body.
Yeah, kind of soft around the middle, but still strong with it.
Yeah, like big childbearing hips, I find, on Doink the Clown.
And like, I don't know whether like the second guy was a wrestler or what, because all he really needed to do was come in, smack with the arm, do a little mime routine, and leave.
Yeah. So I imagine they didn't look very far to get. Maybe the original Doink had a twin brother. That would have been a scary thought. While he's down on the ground, this is what I mean about sort of Bobby Heenan just contradicting himself for the sake of contradicting himself. They're all saying, I can't believe it, there was a second Doink the Clown in the ring. And Bobby Heenan just keeps going, no, it's an illusion. It's an illusion. And Jim's like, well, I'm sure I saw two clowns. He's like, no, you didn't.
The thing is, though, I don't think that this was necessarily Bobby Heenan's idea. I think that someone in the writing desk or Vince said, oh, no, try and tell them it's an illusion because it's going to be a thing that we run through the night. Was it real or was it an illusion? Because people won't know if we keep telling them.
It's kind of that thing of like, I want everyone to go home from WrestleMania 9 in a very sort of dreamlike state.
It's like, was there two Doinks? I kind of fell asleep halfway through the match, but
it's sort of like when they get home, it's like, did I just watch one of the worst WrestleManias of all time? Was I dreaming? So another referee comes out, and they look into the ring together because he's like, dude, you got done over here, man. There was two Doinks in the ring. Did you not see him? And he was like, I got knocked unconscious by a flailing clown arm. Wow, I couldn't have seen anything. They look underneath.
I thought it was an illusion.
Yeah, I thought, it's hot out here. It's like a mirage. And they look into the ring and basically sort of they agree, oh, okay, well, agree to disagree. There might have been two, there might have been one. So I reckon what they should do is they should get VAR like on the Premier League so they can like play it back and then we can check the tapes. And
well, that's the thing, because like, sorry, the second ref come out and they were talking about, oh, are they going to try and overturn the result? And I'm just thinking, when has that ever been a fucking thing? You've got like 16,000 people watching this and all of them can tell you that wasn't a fucking illusion. But they never turn to them to say, oh, did this person interfere? We just don't know. The ref wasn't looking, so it doesn't count.
I think the thing is as well, I think it should have been overturned and then Crush, 5 minutes, bish bash bosh, smashes him, wins. I'd have been happy.
But no, that gets reserved for a different match.
Yeah, unfortunately. And Crush, it cuts to him in the ring, and I don't know how much of this is really good acting or how much of this is just he's just sitting there, but he looks genuinely distraught. Like he looks
he's
really
wondering
upset
to himself, was that an illusion?
He's in the ring thinking, I can't believe I did probably one of the shittest matches in my life then. And I didn't even win. And I lost to two fellas in clown costumes, one of which may have been real, one of which may not have been.
I feel so bad for Crush as well, because he's a damn good wrestler from what we've seen. And not only that, but he's like he just comes across as a really nice person as well. Like all of his promos, like excellent. And
they've done him really dirty over the course of this feud. They've had him constantly being beaten down, jumped, outsmarted. And then when it gets to WrestleMania, and you don't know how many WrestleManias you're going to get, the biggest, grandest stage of them all, the first WrestleMania that ever takes place outdoors in front of 16,911 people, he gets beaten by two fellas in bad clown outfits, and that's the end of the feud, I'd imagine.
It's so sad, especially for like some people who may be past their prime and have only had this one opportunity to be in a WrestleMania and may never get another WrestleMania. Speaking of the next match, but there's another bit with Todd Pettingill in between sort of the Crush match and the next match.
So it cuts to like this random section of the crowd where Todd Pettingill is, and he's wearing like bright sunglasses and then like a kind of Roman outfit.
Yeah, I don't think they had Ray-Bans back in the Roman days.
No, I don't think they did either. More like Roman bands. Eh? Augustus Louboutins for the feet.
Et tu, Burton?
That's okay. Cut mine out. That one was great. Mine was rubbish. Yours was great. So yeah,
I don't think Burton's is a brand anymore, but whatever.
Well, it's in the Roman times it would have been. It cuts to Todd Pettingill, and he does an impromptu interview with two Japanese cameramen.
Who are the happiest men I've ever seen. Like, he tries to speak to the first one, and his English might not be quite as good as Todd was expecting. So he goes to the second one. He says, oh, so do you think it was two clowns, or do you think it was an illusion? And he just goes, like, he's having a great old time.
It goes back to the one with the really long lens, and he's like, oh, WrestleMania #1. These guys seem really cool. I'd love to go and get a beer and have some wasabi with them or whatever. You know what I mean? Like
wasabi.
Do you know what I mean? Like I'd love to kind of like a clash of cultures.
I'd love to go drink a bottle of ketchup with those fellas.
No, I mean like a clash of cultures. Like okay, I'll go and I'll kind of like do half the night and they do half the night. So we'll have like a hot dog and a beer, and then we'll have like sushi and sake or whatever it's called, and we'll basically mix and match cultures, and then we'll try and work in some sort of Roman angle. You know, something like that, I guess.
Blake, you're the new Mr. Worldwide.
So yeah, that was kind of like just a nice time-filling bit that Todd Pettengill does.
Also, people are apparently hucking cups of beer at him.
Yeah, because
Todd Pettengill,
he says, it's been crazy up here. I've been covered in beer. I've been covered in like peanuts. And I'm like, that's not beer, mate. There's flinging cups of piss at him.
They've seen WWF Mania. They don't like you.
Yeah, they hate him. I like this idea we have that it's like a universal constant that everybody anywhere in the world hates Todd Pettengill.
I do.
Yeah, same. I don't know anything about him.
So therefore, it must be true for everyone.
So coming up next, we've got Razor Ramon versus Bob Backlund.
Which was this on the title? Was this
I'm not.
I don't
sure.
recall it. Because I know that, like, the couple of times we've seen Bob Backlund so far, it's been mentioned, he's going to WrestleMania, but I don't think it was ever mentioned that he was going against Razor Ramon.
I could be right, I could be wrong. I think maybe it got mentioned briefly once, very, very briefly. And
we didn't get any of the fancy title cards or anything.
Oh, no, it definitely wasn't in the promotional material. And why would it be? It's Bob Backlund.
I like Bob Backlund. He's a fun character.
I know, but it's not really a draw, is it? Like, you couldn't put his name on a billboard and people would pay money to come see it. Razor Ramon comes out, Scott Hall, and his music's great, his entrance is great. Bob Backlund comes out looking like one of the Crankies with his scarf on. It's weird. I've never noticed it before. Now I can't stop noticing it. He takes off his like windbreaker that he's wearing of the finest polyester in all the land, and
God, can you imagine the static coming off of him?
Oh, I know, right? Like, I think to be fair, do you think that's why he goes for a handshake to start the match off? Because he's trying to like channel that static energy and like kill him on the spot, give him
trying to electrocute him.
Yeah. So he goes for a shake, and he's rudely refused by Razor Ramon. And
which is just par for the course.
Yeah, it's literally what you'd expect. And I love this match because it is what you expect. There's no crazy swerves. There's no stupid stuff. There's no pissing about. There's nothing that doesn't make sense. It's literally, if you said to me, can you describe to me what would happen if Razor Ramon versus Bob Backlund happened? I'd basically say to you this match without even having to see it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's
very, not predictable, but it's very comforting, and it's very... yeah, like I say, it's very obvious what's going to happen, but in a good way obvious. He gets overpowered early on, and Razor Ramon is basically using new style wrestling, so it slams, arm drags, punches, kicks against Bob Backlund's old school classic Greco-Roman wrestling.
And he's like really the old school stuff. Yeah, he's really good at the old school stuff.
It looks
great. But like when it comes to selling and working with the new stuff, that's...
It does kind of fall down, doesn't it? But yeah, I mean, Ramon's great. He seems to be able to operate in two speeds. Like he can do that classic wrestling. Like he can take those moves, and he can he's happy to take like heel trips and be span around on, and be made look like a bit of a fool. Then he turns it around, gets him with the kicks and stomps, and like you say, Backlund isn't as good at keeping in time with more pre-rehearsed theatrical moves as he is sort of doing his moves. There's some weird arm drags. Like none of them seem to move in the right motion to do an arm drag. Like Bob just kind of stops, moves his arm a little bit, and trying to do his modern wrestling. And Ramon's like, oh, okay, I guess I'll flip now. So he flips.
Yeah.
There's a really bad. The only bit I can think of again that really detracts from the match is Backlund goes for a drop kick, which is impressive for a man in his 40s and the stature and size of Bob Backlund. He's only small, and he's kind of
He's so pale as well.
Yeah,
like I'm worried he's going to burn to a crisp in this Las Vegas sunshine.
Yeah, in the Nevada desert, like he's just going to like shrink up, like a
raisin.
You know when you see like a jellyfish has been on land too long, like it's just dead, and like a small like that.
And also the crowd is weird in this one because obviously Razor Ramon is like the heel that WWF have at the moment.
He throws his, I was going to say chopstick, but I was thinking about something else.
It's toothpick.
And he's really rude to him, and he really treats him badly. But what happens, Nathan?
the crowd cheer for him.
Yeah,
like they're going Razor, Razor throughout the entire match. I was like, but it's Bob Backlund, innocent little pale Bob Backlund.
It's one of the crankies, Nathan. I don't want him to lose. Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? That I noticed that was pretty weird. Like, it did stick out to me as being really strange that why would you cheer who was supposed to be the bad guy? Is Bob Backlund that disrespected and rubbish that no one wants to see him win?
Yeah, also, we hear a bit about this later, but the commentary team mentioned the fact that Bret Hart apparently got knocked out, like, the day before by Lex Luger while he was having brunch with Gene Okerlund.
Oh, yes, that was this morning. So this morning at the Wrestlemania
Oh, it was in the
brunch,
morning, yeah.
The Wrestlemania brunch, which isn't a thing. They don't do that. When have you ever heard about the Wrestlemania brunch that they all have before the Wrestlemania? Doesn't happen. Apparently, Lex Luger knocked out Bret Hart with a forearm. So, yeah, so we're basically building... Now Bret is even more of an underdog than he was before. Is this the same match where there's a bit of a radio happening as well? Like a radio noise in the background?
I haven't got that written down. I think that might be the next one.
Oh, okay, fair enough. There's a really bad botch where Backlund does a drop kick and whiffs for like a mile. Luckily, Ramon doesn't try and sell it. So I'm thinking maybe, was it a botch or maybe it was just like a ha ha ha, Bob Backlund's rubbish. There's a suplex and an atomic drop. Bob Backlund's in control. And then Razor Ramon... Did Razor Ramon roll him up or did Razor Ramon get rolled up?
Razor Ramon rolled him up.
That's it, thank you. So yeah, so Bob's looking like he's actually coming towards getting a win here, like a legitimate win. Razor rolls him up, like a surprise roll-up, and wins.
And the thing is, like, I didn't really realise it at the time, but because I've been, like, sort of going back and editing the going in Raws that we've been doing so far, this is actually a mirror image of what Bob Backlund does for his pins. Like, he has an identical pin that just got done on him, where he makes it near impossible for the other people to break out of it. And that's what Razor has done to him now. And it's like a very good, like, sudden comeback. So yeah. This kind of follows in with what we're talking about with Tatanka and Shawn, and like how it seems like some of the wrestlers tonight have actually been like studying and learning the other's moves and learning how to copy and sort of break out of them.
That gives it like a whole new layer of depth that I don't think I'd considered.
Yeah.
Very good work on the research there, Nathan.
That's all right. So all in all, quick match, no surprises. It was nice. It was short. It was all right.
It was the perfect length for the two characters involved. You can't get a comedy character like Bob Backlund to have like a 20-minute drag-out brawl. It wouldn't have worked. So to have that kind of just a quick punchy popcorn match in the middle of the card is a really nice breakup of like the misery that's come before and the misery that's going to come later. So yeah, so far it sounds so crazy, but Razor Ramon versus Bob Backlund is my WrestleMania highlight so far.
You're calling that already?
Right. Again, I don't know if I had some sort of stroke or a part of my brain's not working properly or something, but yeah, at the moment, this is the best bit for me. It goes to an interview with Money Inc. With me and Gene Okerlund, and there's not really much said here that hasn't been said before. They use this as an opportunity to recap the feud. So we're seeing some clips of Monday Night Raw that we've seen, the briefcase attack and things like this.
And now their beefcase is golden.
Yeah, and they've taken off that picture of Hulk Hogan, so I reckon I was right. He has nicked that and started selling it as merchandise.
Just flogging it outside Caesar's Palace from the back of his car.
So then we come to Money Inc. versus Megamaniacs, a title match for the tag team titles.
I will also say, like, during that interview, I mentioned to Blake, like, why do they have IRS always follow Ted DiBiase when Ted DiBiase is a barnstormer of a shoot? Like, he's a great promo man, and IRS is just like so flat on the microphone. Like, he can shout, but it doesn't really feel like he has any purpose.
Yeah, I get what you mean. Surely, I think I said to you, you're right. I would have gone the other way around. IRS starts, Ted finishes, because, like you say, Ted is the one that can really get across. Ted can really get across a nice punchy promo. Makes you dislike him as a heel, which obviously is what he's attempting to do. We go to the long rampway and the smoke, and here come the Megamaniacs.
It was also mentioned during the interview, and this might be where you get to talk about like your little conspiracy theory that you've heard. But it's brought up that Hulk Hogan got into an accident outside of the gym. I don't know why I actually did the little quotation marks when I need to say that. And Blake, I believe you have some information on what might have happened here, because we see as Hulk Hogan comes out, his eye is fucked up.
It's minging, like it's bloodshot. It's like a different color, like the white of his eye is like black almost. Like
and he's got like some serious stitches on his eyebrow.
So something's happened. He's ended up injured somehow. Now, I'll go through it in the terms of what they say happened in terms of wrestling, what the backstage said happened in real life, and then what I've heard really, really happened. So Money Inc. imply in their interview that Hulk Hogan's had an accident. They've paid for someone to go to the gym where he works out and beat him up, basically. The backstage scuttlebutt, like what actually got released in the press release of why his eye was minging, he ended up in a jet ski accident, which sounds suspiciously similar to Brutus getting his face done in by parasailers' knees.
Also, they're in Nevada. They're a bit away from any ocean.
Right. And then what I heard happened was the day before WrestleMania, Macho Man Randy Savage physically assaulted Hulk Hogan. Now, the reason for which, in 1992, he got divorced, Macho Man this is, from Miss Elizabeth. And I don't know why it's taken a year to get to this point, but he seems to believe that there was some infidelity between Hulk Hogan and his wife while they were married. And so he took this opportunity to basically punch him in the eye so hard he turns his eye a different colour. And now we know for a fact that Macho Man and Hulk Hogan hate each other because of his rap album. And I was saying to you, it's interesting because when Hulk Hogan was coming back, it was Macho on the commentary that was really bigging him up before this. And then today, he seems to have a very different attitude towards Hulk Hogan.
Throughout this entire match, Macho is, I wouldn't say dead silent, because he does pipe up every now and again, but he is nowhere near as active as he was for every other match before this and every other match after this.
And they keep saying things along the lines of the commentary, I can't believe that someone has done this to Hulk Hogan. And Macho Man, I think you pointed out, says at one point, and I think he knows who that somebody is. So it's very heavily implied that, I could be wrong, that he has beaten him up. And
of course, this is all rumor and hearsay.
Yes, all speculation. But
and we love Macho Man, and we don't care much for Hulk Hogan. So even if this isn't the case, we like to think it's the case.
It does make me feel better that he's got his comeuppance at long last.
I mean, it makes sense because, like you say, like Hulk Hogan and Macho Man hated each other. I remember seeing something at some point where Macho was basically like, I want to do a charity match with Hulk, like not even in his character, just like, I want to do a charity match with Hulk Hogan, not a wrestling match, like an actual fight. I will donate all the money to children's hospitals and Hulk Hogan can take away a small paycheck if he wants, but I'm doing it for charity.
Which is really nice of him, and that just goes to show how much he wants to get his hands on him in a semi-legitimate setup to beat him up. So I could see him, and Macho at this kind of time in his life as well, again, speculation, rumour, I imagine being on the road a lot, off the back of a divorce, is probably not in a great place. He sounds a bit kind of out of it today on the commentary, be it drugs, heat, alcohol, whatever. Or just, I've punched Hulk Hogan, I'm going to get sacked. That kind of, do you know what I mean? There is something that's happened to Macho Man, and it does just connect all the dots if that's what it is.
And, you know, because you say, how long was it? You say it was about a year after like his divorce.
Yeah,
like
1992 they got divorced.
Okay, because like I mean I know because I think it was Steve Austin who took like a good chunk of time off after his divorce, like in the coming future, and like so good on Macho Man for like pushing through it, I guess, and like trying to work. But yeah, I do feel bad for him. Anyway,
so chaos happens. The Mega Maniacs come out and Brutus.
To too much red smoke. There is so much red smoke.
It's bad, isn't it? Brutus Bar Beefcake comes out wearing a new mask made of reinforced titanium, which looks like
he's got like a. Sorry, you go.
Go on, no, you go.
I was just gonna say because it's like a weird sort of upper face plate that's like jagged and metal, but it's also bright yellow. So I say it kind of looks like if MF Doom was sponsored by McDonald's.
See, I thought it was more kind of like a cheap cosplay of Bumblebee from the Transformers movies.
Just go out wearing a Halloween mask.
He just comes out, Autobots, roll out and all that, yeah. Brutus Bar Beefcake. They get into the ring and they eject Money Inc.
Immediate beatdown.
Like, the music keeps looping, like their music's still playing. They get in the ring, they throw him over the top rope, and then Hulk Hogan does his bit where he rips his t-shirt off, and the crowd goes crazy, like the roof comes off the building. The music's still going, and they're taunting, they're dancing, he's cupping his ear, they're doing all like the four corners and everything. And Money Inc. stay on the apron, being cowards, letting the good guys just soak it all up. And the music's still playing, the crowd is still going crazy. And I said to Nathan, well, that's it. They've peaked. This match has peaked in the first 10 seconds because they're not going to get that reaction again.
No, I honestly thought as well that the match was just over. Yeah. Like, the way that people were reacting, I thought it was like, okay, they've gone over the top rope, match over, belt exchange, good, let's move on, please. Yeah. Because maybe Hulk Hogan didn't feel like wrestling with the eye thing.
So unfortunately we do have a wrestling match to get through. They are going to actually do some wrestling. So there's a bit of messing around. They come back in, and then there's a lockup, and the competitors starting are Brutus, Beefcake, and IRS. And they do that typical heel thing where they work him into the corner, they beat him up, they're doing quick tags in and out. So they're basically tagging, they're kind of coming in, kicking him a bit, tagging, going out, like in a big revolving sort of windmill of bones. There's so IRS punches him in the face and hurts his hand on that titanium thing, and then he gets so basically he turns the match around, then he bashes his head off the turnbuckle, and he does that thing where he does it off the turnbuckle 10 times. So everyone's going 1, 2, 3, 4. Then he tags in Hulk Hogan, and the crowd explode as soon as Hogan's like big toe steps into the ring. They're like, yes, Hulk Hogan. This is the first time he's wrestled, I think, since he's come back. So I think it's his big return to the ring. And so the crowd explode. He goes up into the turnbuckle, and he does a 10 spot with punching. So just like 10 punches from the top rope. And then they're on the ground. He just like 10 punches on the ground as well. And I guess they've noticed the audience like counting, because everything happens basically in the beat of 10. So there's an Irish whip and a clothesline. There's like a double big boot to Ted DiBiase, who tags him. They tag in Brutus Barber Beefcake. Yeah, and basically it's just kind of, they're just passing around Brutus Barber Beefcake, and they're throwing him about, and then the good guys will explode in and throw the baddies over the top rope, and then the crowd will explode again. Then we'll come back and we'll do it again. And then we ended up basically getting a situation where they're thrown over the top rope after a little bit of wrestling, a lot of just basically 10 spot work. And the baddies go, I've had enough, we're going home.
Yeah, because obviously, like we've already seen tonight, that if you're disqualified, like you lose, but you keep the belt,
so
which is they're just like, fuck this. We're gonna just walk away with our heads held high and our belt in hand, and let them win. They can keep their glory. And I will say as well, like, as much as I dislike Hulk Hogan as a wrestler, at least like he's sharing screen time with Brutus. Like Brutus is having a good old amount of time in the ring, and he is like looking strong in there. But yeah, we'll continue.
I think the worry for us was basically it was going to be Brutus comes in, gets instantly decimated, Hulk to the rescue. He does like 1-on-2, beats both the baddies single-handedly. Brutus is like a complete chump. But like you say, it is very nicely balanced at the moment between the two of them, which I think is great.
But I mean, there's nothing to worry about there, because Brutus is Hulk Hogan's friend, and Hulk Hogan would never make a friend feel like a chump, just another person in his cult.
Exactly.
But we'll get to that later.
So as they're going up the walkway towards the back, and they're on the kind of cusp of being counted out and losing the match but keeping the title. Over the announcement, it gets revealed that unlike the match at the beginning, where the count out secured the belt for the baddie but the win for the goodie, this time round, because it's Hulk Hogan and Brutus Barber Beefcake, and they're just so good that if the baddies don't come back to the ring, they lose and forfeit the belts, and they've got to count 10 to do so.
And this was fucking infuriating. Like, I have never seen this. Like, I have seen, like, plenty of times where a heel will deliberately disqualify themselves so that they can keep the belt but lose the match, but it's okay because they keep the gold around their waist. I have never seen the rules be flaunted like this and changed on a dime. Like, you can't... If you're gonna do a fucking, like, falls count anywhere, etc., any loss or no disqualifications, it means you lose the belt, that sort of thing. Announce that at the start of the match. Don't make up that rule halfway through.
And don't do it seemingly in response, but just because, but the good guys, they didn't get a proper good go here. They should win, shouldn't they? And I think the thing is, if you set up a precedent of the Money Inc. doing this, getting themselves disqualified or just leaving matches. And like you say, before the match, put in the stipulation, being as you keep clearing off during matches and you show complete contempt to the rules, then fine, we're going to put a thing in where if you walk away tonight, you lose the belt. They did that with Edge and Christian. Edge and Christian used to have a habit of disqualifying themselves. Mick Foley, annoyed at this, says, okay, if you get disqualified or you get counted out, you lose the belt as well as the match. And that's fine. It's clear, it's been established. Don't have them wrestle normal matches, win the normal matches, lose normal matches, whatever, but actually don't do the walk-off thing. And then, like you say, halfway through, just because WrestleMania and it's Hulk Hogan, go, well, you've got to come back or you lose the belt. Ha ha to you.
Yeah, they could have done this easily. Like in the interview with Gene Okerlund, Money Inc. could have said something to the degree of, we think that we're going to beat you so bad that you're going to try and run away. So we want to make this the rule that if like the belt counts anywhere, like any no disqualifications, any loss, like the belt exchanges to the winner, like because we think that you're going to run away.
And then they're hoisted by their own petard. Good guys win. Lovely, right? Easy peasy.
Like that,
but anyway,
even thinking about it, like that doesn't make sense, but it makes more sense than this.
Yes, no, but I get completely where you're going with the idea. Yeah. So they hear this. They've got like 10 to count of 10 to give out to the ring, and you can tell the audience just want the match to end because they're going like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and they book it back to the ring as fast as they can. They slide back in, and we basically go back to having a normal match. Like, it's not that explosive finish you're hoping for. I was hoping, okay, they'll come back in, get beaten up, get a pin, lose, ha ha ha, sucks to be you bad guys. But we go to like basically a normal wrestling match. So IRS begins to choke Hulk Hogan. So he puts him over the rope and chokes him. And then,
there's a lot of like strangle spots to Hogan.
Then they tag, and then DiBiase takes over the choking. And then while DiBiase distracts the ref, IRS chokes him with the tag rope and then chokes him again on the ground. And basically we're milking the whole idea of like, we're going to choke Hulk Hogan. So that whole thing Hogan does where he gets beaten down, then he gets up, 2 moves, wins. They do that thing where Ted DiBiase, he locks in the $1 Million Dream and Hulk fades. The crowd builds, everyone's going crazy, and they work their way into that arm drop thing. So if his arm drops 3 times, he is passed out, Hulk Hogan cannot continue, bad guys win. That's what we're working towards. Obviously, predictably, first 2, his hand goes down. Third, he stops at the last second. He starts shaking and blowing and kind of like really building up. He fires up. He tags in Brutus Barber Beefcake, who comes in and puts a sleeper on Ted DiBiase. They're both down. Hulk Hogan and
Brutus or Jimmy Hart?
No, so hang on. So Ted DiBiase gets sleepered by Brutus Barber Beefcake. And then Brutus tags in Hulk Hogan. Hogan and DiBiase are down. They're both down. They start doing like a standing 10 count. So if neither of them get back up to the count of 10, double count out, match is over. Hogan sits up like the Undertaker.
Just stealing everyone's stick
he's
today.
Just nicking everything, isn't he? He'll put in like the sharpshooter in a minute or something. No, he does him dirty, doesn't he, Nathan? But anyway, DiBiase tags in IRS. Hogan tags in Barber. There's a hot tag from Barber, so he hits like an inverted atomic drop. And more to the point, he looks good, the Barber.
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice that Brutus is getting these hot tags from Hogan, because I would have predicted it would have been entirely the other way around. But yeah, no, they're making Brutus seem like the big deal, which I guess maybe Hogan's not going to stick about in the WWF for long. So maybe they are trying to put Brutus over as like the new big deal.
Yeah, like, okay, he's kind of like absorbed his powers by working with him through osmosis for so long.
Yeah, they're trying to put him over as like, this is Hulk Hogan's best friend, so support him like Hogan, please, and buy his merchandise.
Yeah, he's just as like his sidekick. Like, you know when his Action Man had that dog? It's basically the same thing. DiBiase gives him a briefcase to the back, and then IRS drops elbows on him. DiBiase takes over the beatdown. DiBiase removes Brutus's mask after a lot of faffing.
It's got a bit of elastic on it. It shouldn't be that hard.
Yeah, and there's a lot of like digging of fingernails in, and obviously Jim's really putting over really strongly, 100 miles an hour. If he takes that off, like, he is completely at the mercy of the bad guys. Like, his face is going to get pushed out the back of his face. He runs him into IRS's foot. IRS tags in, they work over, then they go out. DiBiase works him over. Brutus comes back with a double clothesline, a sleeper. DiBiase hits him like, so DiBiase hits the sleeper from behind, and they all go over like a stack of dominoes into the ref. The ref goes down,
again.
And the thing is about that walking away thing, now I come to think of it, Bobby Heenan calls it out for being the bullshit it is, and he's supposed to be the heel, even though it is bullshit that they got done with that stipulation.
Yeah.
And Hogan at one point pokes DiBiase in the eye and gets admonished. But when Shawn Michaels did it earlier, that's fine by Bobby Heenan. But
yeah,
more examples of Heenan being inconsistent, I guess.
There's a lot of instances here of the good guys, being the Megamaniacs, being absolute rule-breaking bastards.
Something that's always bothered me about Hogan, that he seems to be able to cheat and still be a good guy, even though he's
above
cheat.
the rules.
Yeah, pretty much. So after the referee goes over, Hogan comes in. I don't think it's even a tag. He big boots Ted DiBiase, hits them both with the mask, and then him and Barber pin at the same time. The referee's still out, so Jimmy Hart comes in the ring and puts on a ref shirt. That's not how it works.
He inverts his jacket to be like a Beetlejuice black and white stripe sort of thing.
And he comes in. The thing is, you can't do that. And then they do the 1, 2, 3. The crowd are up thinking, okay, they've won. Fantastic, amazing. But the bell hasn't rung.
No.
And everyone's like a bit confused what's going on. But they celebrate anyway. They get up. They're like, basically, I am a real They're dancing around, jumping about. Hooray, hooray, hooray. The ref comes to. Well, no, sorry. A second ref comes in and then gives the decision. It's a DQ win for Money Inc. because they used the mask. And then I can't believe it. They eject the referee. That's what I mean. The good guys, Hulk Hogan and Brutus, like Brutus is going to punch the referee in the face. He raises his hand back to hit the referee. The referee's basically standing around going, no, don't hurt me, please, you gigantic muscle men. I know I've robbed you of the victory, even though you shouldn't have won because you cheated about 10 times, but don't kill me. Please don't kill me. So then Hulk Hogan throws him over the top rope like the bully that he is, and then their music plays, and they celebrate that they won even though they didn't win. Money Inc. have won. Their music hasn't played. They cleared off to the back, slink away like weasels, and there's Hogan, Jimmy and Brutus just going, yes, we did a really good job there, cheating to lose the match.
Yeah, I've just written down here, the Megamaniacs assault all the officials. These are the good guys. Hulk Hogan truly is a real American.
Real American piece of shit.
And they dance for fucking ever. We got this when like Hulk Hogan did his first interview like in the stage in Raw, like in episode 6 or 5 or whatever it was. But they're in the ring for so goddamn long.
It's absurd. Like, knowing it's a 2-hour and 43-minute show, which, by the way, is the longest show we've ever had to sit through, and it felt that length. You really could have cut out a good 15 minutes of that with their entrance at the beginning and their celebration at the end. You could have a trim 220 if you hadn't let them just do what they want. Then they're not finished yet, though, because while the music's still looping, they open their opponent's briefcase and it's filled with a brick and a load of money. So they basically hand the money out to the crowd. And cheer and celebrate and go, hooray, we've cheated to lose the match. Well done, us.
Yeah, you truly are a Robin Hood individual, aren't you, Hulk Hogan, you union-busting bastard.
It goes to Tom Pettingale, as if my misery couldn't be compounded any further. And he interviews Natalie Cole and the CEO of Caesars, who's like, he looks like an evil spirit has like got into a ventriloquist dummy. He's so puppety and unnatural.
He does look like a Saturday morning cartoon villain, doesn't he?
He looks like someone Captain Planet would go, right, now look here, you bollocks, and then he'd like shoot him into the moon or whatever. And real American...
This is Dan Reichertz, I think his name was.
I don't know. Satan incarnate. I don't know who it is. And he's basically saying, we've loved having the WWE here at Caesar's Palace. They've really ingratiated themselves lovely amongst all the Caesar's Palace things, and brunch was wicked and I really enjoyed that, and it's great having the wrestlers here and just seeing them.
I got to watch Bret Hart get killed. That was nice.
And I think the sort of the image of a shady CEO that owns the largest like gambling establishment probably in the world is talking while in the background a song called Real American plays. Like, it gives me like big Trump energy. Like, this guy did.
Like, if this was written in a novel, you'd say it was too on the nose.
Yeah, you'd think, oh, okay, well, obviously your themes are being a bit too obvious here, wouldn't you? And then
just have a big neon sign in the middle of the screen that just flashes capitalism.
It's annoying, and I was annoyed by the whole thing. Coming up next, is an interview section with Mean Gene Okerlund and Mr. Perfect, who just seems to just be in a fantastic mood. He's just saying, you know, I've had enough of his guff. Lex Luger's going around knocking people out left, right, and centre. He recently attacked, you know, Bret Hart at brunch, which it should be like, you know, Switzerland. Like, it's like a complete, as a state and a complete place of complete neutrality. Nothing should go down at WrestleMania brunch. Leave the problems at the door.
Brunch is sacred.
Yeah.
You do not fight over the salamis.
And he says,
Perfect is in a great mood. He says he's having a great week. He got a hole-in-one at golf, and he's been scoring big at the tables.
Yeah, so he's like, I'm having a wonderful time. I'm loving this. And then he said, I'm going to go like knock out Lex Luger or something. But he stumbles over his words, and then he just sort of gives up. He's like, I can't exactly remember what he says, though, is the problem.
He calls him the Lexicist.
That's it. And then he goes like he tries to stifle a laugh. Mean Gene starts grinning. He completely corpses, and he's like, I'm going to go do that now. I'm going to go sort that out. See you later. And he just walks off.
It was very human, and I enjoyed seeing that.
So now we get to it. Lex Luger versus Mr. Perfect. We've been building up since the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, because Lex asked when... Well, I mean, it was first sort of hinted at during the very first episode of Raw, because Bobby Heenan came out and said, Mr. Perfect, I've got the new perfect individual, the narcissist, as he says, because he's beyond perfect.
I've got the Lexicist, Nas Luger. He's going to come out and he's going to beat you. And this is what WrestleMania is about for me. This kind of macho
pomp and circumstance.
Yeah, this kind of display of ultra, I wouldn't say completely positive masculinity, but ultra masculinity and ultra strength and ego, and that desire to be adored like a god, but not in a Hulk Hogan way, because I think Lex Luger in real life is nothing like his character, but whatever. And I think I've got a good thing I can point out which makes me think as much, but there's an amazing entrance by Lex Luger. He gets his character over so easily and so well. He comes out wearing this gigantic, long, silvery purple robe over his entire body, so his head's just poking out like Diglett out of the ground. And it's amazing. I love it. He comes into the ring, and there's an accompaniment of women that come with him.
And the commentary team are disgusting individuals.
Yeah, like they might as well have started barking. Like, there's such dog behaviour, isn't it? Like, they're all just drooling on the commentary desk. And like, Bobby Heenan starts it, and he's like, oh, look at the tush on that. And then Macho Man, being a red-blooded American, he likes tush as well. And I remember sort of listening to this as because they're climbing into the ring, and it's very sexist. They've got a really good close-up on the women's bottoms. And they're wearing like obviously gold bikinis and fishnets and things, and goes down the line. Heenan starts it, then Macho Man. I was like, okay, it's going to end there because Jim isn't like that. Jim is a gentleman, and he goes, oh well, I just gotta say like, oh, and I'm like, Jim.
I like that that's still the Jim Ross impression, even though this is like quite an early young Jim Ross, and he sounds nothing like that.
Yeah, you're quite
This is healthy Jim Ross.
Yeah, he can speak normally, but there's me still giving it the jowly effect.
Yeah, but that's him trying to talk through all the saliva that's dripping from his mouth.
And so when they get in the ring, the ladies reveal they've got 4 mirrors this time round rather than the one that Lex normally has. And he takes off the robe and he poses in front of the 4 mirrors, and they've got like fireworks, like a little sparkler that they let off as well.
So extra. I love it.
So cool. And I really, really, really enjoyed it. And I was like, I felt hyped. And what I mean is about the fact that I don't think he believes his character, like he isn't his character, is when he turns around from doing that and he kind of sees everyone looking at him, and like the gravity and the majesty of what he's part of kind of, I think, hits him there, because by his eyes just soften and he looks almost a bit like teary-eyed. Like, he looks really grateful and appreciative that he gets to come and do this for his job. And that's the only slipping character. It's a nice slipping character that I think he has. Like, when he goes straight back to it, like brushing his muscles off and stuff. But I think the gravity of what's happening to him just sort of hits him there, and he's like, this is amazing. Look what I get to do for my work. I love doing what I do.
Yeah. Oh, and this is the part of the show where there is a little bit of radio interference. I couldn't quite make out what was going on, but yeah, they did mention, I think we're getting some odd noises coming through our like microphones at the moment.
Yeah, it's the UFOs again, I think.
Yeah.
Noted
it's
UFO
Matrix
enthusiast.
coming up next.
Noted UFO enthusiast Macho Man's going to be like, he's got his show on about spaceships and whatever. So then Mr. Perfect comes out. His entrance isn't full of so much pomp and circumstance. He basically just comes to the ring with the towel, and he just sort of everyone's cheering him, and it's a really, really nice atmosphere for both guys. Lex Luger didn't really get booed that viciously. People were just quiet, but not like in a we don't care about him way, but like in a quite. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, they weren't leaning over the railing to stick a middle finger in his face this time, so that's nice.
I think it's
character growth.
Yeah. These people are warming to him.
Oh yeah, there's a little lady in the crowd where she's holding like a little picture of Lex Luger, and she looks so delighted.
Yeah, she it cuts to this lady, and she kind of unfolds this bit, and it's got like a picture of Lex Luger, and she's like looking at the ring and then looking down the aisleway because she's like, I cannot believe I get to watch these two sexy men have a fight. She looks, she's like blushing. She looks, it's amazing. It's great.
To be fair, that's how I watch wrestling as well.
I mean, I just think to myself, she's probably thinking to herself, they're gonna have to call a DQ because there's too much muscle in the ring. I can't take it. I'm getting a touch of the vapors. I can't. It's hot out here in Las Vegas. So the match starts in earnest. We have a really good match in our hands here. There's a really good build-up on Raw that's led us into this. So I am feeling there's a storyline here. The characters are where they need to be. They lock up and they trade hold for hold, and they are doing... Each one is as matched as the other. Nobody in the early goings is better than the other. This is like Clash of the Titans. These are the two best of the best in terms of perfection. So Mr. Perfect is so fast. He drops down, he leapfrogs, he gives him a drop kick. It's so great. Lex Luger goes out, he comes and he takes a minute to wander around the ring going, I can't believe he got the better of me.
Because this is the first time we've seen Lex Luger take an actual honest to God beating. Like every match he's been in so far has been an utter squash.
Yeah.
So it's nice to see him sort of be like, what the hell's going on? This doesn't usually happen.
Yeah.
I usually just win.
I can't, how do I react to this? Because I've never been in this situation before. It's a really nice idea. And you can tell, obviously, because just the way I've perked up talking about this match, that I've enjoyed it a lot more than the rest that we've seen so far tonight.
There's also like a bit of a Chekhov's gun, because they keep talking about how like Lex has a forearm knockout. Like I don't know what it is, but he's able to knock people out with his forearm, and he's got like an outstanding record with that. And there's a bit of suspicion about why that's going on, but I don't think that ever like comes up during this.
No, I think it's brought up. And I think I know what you mean, because it did, like I say, it never gets resolved. But the reason why I think they talk about it is because he's knocked out Bret with it that morning at brunch. That's what he hit him with. He hit him with that phenomenal forearm, whatever you want to call it, and knocked him unconscious. And it's like the suspicion. They say the suspicion is there's something a bit dodgy about it. Like there's something not completely above board.
I thought they were gonna like play that he's got something in like his costume or something that would knock him out, but he's only got like wristbands on, so unless he's got like razor blades typed to the inside, like he's a modern day Peaky Blinder or something.
Yeah, because I know what you mean. I expected like a loaded elbow pad or something with like a weight in it to hit him with. Yeah, unless he's got that in his skin, like unless he's had an operation, like metal plates on his bones, then I don't really know what they're getting at.
He's got like a tattoo sleeve that's just skin color, and he peels off, and he's just got like titanium rods in his arm. It's
like a bit in the Terminator where he's just a surgeon on his own eye, and it's like he cuts like all the plastic and stuff. So Lex Luger comes back in, they lock up, and Lex Luger takes over now. But Mr. Perfect catches his leg, and I love this bit. He catches his leg, they sort of pause for a minute, and Mr. Perfect just like front hands him, just slaps him across the face.
It was so childish.
And then he gives him a heel trip, and then he drops his knee onto Lex Luger's knee. And he puts him in like a submission, working the knees. Lex Luger's selling, even though he hasn't had to do it before, it's really good. Like I love the way he can like bump around believably and really sell you the pain and plight of his situation.
Especially as like Perfect is working over that one particular knee now. Like I don't think that was mentioned that he had like a weak knee or anything, but Perfect made it weak.
Yeah.
And also, like I know we've kind of talked about him a little bit already, but Jim Ross is excellent in calling this match. He is so quick on the calls.
Yeah, I mean, I basically just had to rely on like hearing because I was writing notes so quickly, and the only thing that got me through with my note taking was Jim's speed and accuracy on the moves. And I think everyone can kind of see, Macho Man and Bobby Heenan can kind of see this guy is the future, because they don't really talk when he's giving that really rapid fire. I don't think I've ever heard on Raw or any of the WWF programming before this incident with Jim Ross anyone be able to do that before.
No.
Yeah, because like even at the beginning, he had that kind of rapid 100-mile-an-hour way of speaking, didn't he? Like when he was delivering the intro package. So there's some chops in the corner. The Irish whip's blocked and then reversed. Lex Luger throws Mr. Perfect out, and he starts to work over his lower back. So he rams him into the apron on his lower back, and then that's what now he's going to be targeting, much like Perfect's targeting his knee. There's a running backbreaker, and then near fall off that for Lex Luger. Mr. Perfect then, in response to this, picks up the pace, and there's a near fall by Lex Luger again. And he uses his feet on the ropes this time to give himself the illegal leverage, which the referee spots and breaks the pin. There's a spinning power slam and a near fall. Mr. Perfect gives him a sunset flip and a pin. And with the sunset flip, he rolls him through, and he's sitting in like a powerbomb position with his legs up in the air, and Mr. Perfect's kind of hooking his legs. And Lex Luger, rather than just like using his power to break out, he kind of head scissors him with his thighs. He kind of goes like smack on his ears with his legs. And Mr. Perfect's like, damn it, my ear. So he lets go, and they roll out, and they basically then get up, and they're just like trading like big thumping right hands. They're just battering each other left, right, and centre, and it's going back and forth. Like one does one, and the other does one, and they're both staggering and wobbling. It's fucking fantastic. There's an Irish whip, and Mr. Perfect reverses into an inside cradle. Then there's they both get back up. There's a big bag body drop, and then he catapults Lex Luger into the turnbuckle. Irish whip and a punch. There's a near fall. They do that 10 spot thing again where he gets from the turnbuckle and goes like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever. But Lex Luger powers out with 3 and gives him a clothesline. And then there's a near fall. Mr. Perfect managed to get his foot on the bottom rope, and they're fighting for the backslide. And then Lex Luger rolls up Mr. Perfect. Mr. Perfect gets his feet on the ropes again, but it isn't seen, and Lex Luger wins. Yeah,
this is another one of those bit of like rule bullshit, like, because earlier there was a suggestion that if a second ref could prove that something illegal was done, then it would be all right. But there's no hint of that this time.
No. It's just, that's it. Lex Luger has beaten Mr. Perfect at WrestleMania. So far, even though Tatanka won, he didn't get the belts. Nobody other than that none of the other faces have got a win yet. Crush lost. Megamaniacs lost.
The Steiners won, if you can call them good.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, so the Steiners, but Tatanka won, but he didn't get the belt. So far, the only positive result, all round, 100%, has been the Steiners winning for nothing, no belt or feud or whatever, just because. And now we get to see the forearm. So Lex Luger gives Mr. Perfect the forearm and knocks him unconscious with the forearm, and he puts his foot on him in that kind of like I've just killed a bear pose, and he leaves. Mr. Perfect wakes up. And he chases...
I didn't notice the forearm thing.
Oh yeah, he gives him the forearm right at the end, to knock him out.
Okay, ignore what I said earlier about that Chekhov's gun not firing then.
And Mr. Perfect chases him out of the arena, and then we go to a backstage area, like a parking lot, or like a basically looks like a garage, like a lockup that they're standing around. Yeah. And Lex Luger, after winning the match, so blasé, he's not gone to have a shower. He's just standing chatting to his mate Shawn Michaels by a lockup, and Shawn Michaels.
Yeah, he's just in there, some like light blue jeans, some little booties, no t-shirt,
no shirt on.
Like he got half dressed, and then thought, you know what, I'm going to go outside and have a good old chin wag with my good mate, the Lexorcist.
I'm going to go have a cig with Lexorcist outside, Lexosaurus, before I have a shower. Mr. Perfect like gets him from behind, blindsides him, and throws him into this lockup, and there's like bin bags and bins and brooms everywhere. And then Shawn Michaels interferes and goes, "Don't hit my friend, the Lexorcist." And
Tyrannosaurus Lex.
Nice. And basically beats him up with bins and brooms, etc. And you're right, he's wearing like Wranglers and cowboy boots and no shirt on the man.
So, like I said to you when this sort of happens, like, okay, I think what they're going to build from this is they're going to try and pit Mr. Perfect against Shawn Michaels from now. Yeah, I guess they're going to consider like the Tatanka Shawn Michaels feud over or quiet now. They're just going to sort of push that to the side and then pit Shawn Michaels against Mr. Perfect for this reason.
Yeah, and then obviously the Lex Luger Mr. Perfect thing is obviously going to go by the wayside as well. So it is the end of those two feuds. We're assuming, rightly or wrongly, but we'll see what happens.
Which I'd be upset if that does happen, because it feels like the Narcissist was brought in here purely to be the antithesis to Mr. Perfect. Mm-hmm. So I'd be worried about like Lex Luger's career if he does like stop being the enemy of Mr. Perfect.
Yeah, it does seem. I get what you mean. He's like the complete polar opposite, isn't he? So he's like his anti-villain, his villain to like his hero. So
yeah,
I think the worry would be if I was Lex Luger, I'm a one-note character. Like I'm only here to do this one feud, and then after that, I don't really have a place on the card anymore. So I'd be interested to see what they do with him going out, because he has really proved himself as a very competent, very interesting, very fun to watch wrestler. So I think it'd be a shame if he doesn't really find his feet and do any more.
But yeah, I hope to see more of him in the future.
I wish him all the best in his future endeavours.
And yeah, there's like a bit of an issue with the commentary team at this point, because Bobby Heenan and Macho Man just go at each other. Like they're standing up, like at each other's throats, ready to kill each other, and only JR is there between them trying to stop them.
Yeah, it did feel a bit contrived. It felt a bit like, okay, well, we've got to have the baddie commentator get his comeuppance as well by, Macho Man threatening to kick the shit out of him.
But the thing is, like, because Macho Man is clearly like a bit out of it and quite heated today, like I was worried he was actually going to go for him.
Well, I just completely see red and just like dive over Jim Ross. Gorilla Monsoon gives us some updates on what's about to happen next, what's coming up next. We've got 2 matches left in the card, so we can make it, Nathan. We're going to be all right, mate.
Thank
we'll be fine.
fuck. It's just 2 of the hardest matches to get through. Don't worry.
So it's like a 10-second bit where Gorilla Monsoon says, "Okay, we've got Giant Gonzalez and the Undertaker, and then we've got Yoko versus Bret for the world belt." So Giant Gonzalez, his entrance happens, and he's with Harvey Whippleman. He walks to the ring, he stands in the ring. The Undertaker, bong, funeral dirge, organs. Okay, some guys come out dressed like, is it Horus or is it Set? Do we ever find out? The ancient Egypt god of death.
Horus, I think.
Yeah, they've got like the kind of headdress of that, and then they're pulling a chariot. And on the chariot is the Undertaker in a big long black coat with his hat over his face, holding a big staff, and on top of the staff is a fucking vulture.
It looks fucking badass, and the vulture's got handcuffs on. It's a criminal vulture.
He's got a law-breaking bird of death on a big stick, and it's like flapping around. And I don't advocate the use of real-life animals in entertainment. I think it's quite cruel.
No,
but I think obviously we had the elephant earlier and the camel and the ostrich. Whatever, it's Vegas. These things are going to happen. But I think obviously the vulture was probably handled by experts, as much like everything else was. But yeah, I think a vulture's less dangerous.
The Undertaker.
Yeah, because I think the only thing is like a vulture only eats dead things, right? So you probably won't get attacked by a vulture.
Unless you're the Undertaker, because he might not be alive.
Oh yeah, he's the dead man, isn't he? So yeah, so he's the only person that could probably get eaten by a vulture. But his entrance is fucking amazing, and it's
so good.
That's the last positive thing I can say about this match.
There's one other positive thing I can say about this match, but we'll get to that.
Okay, so
one detractor I want to quickly point out is Giant Gonzalez. We've pointed out before, like, how ridiculous his costume looks, but he's usually had like brown furry underpants on or something before. Usually, now they're skin coloured, and it's a lot worse.
A big naked baby man is in the ring.
Big naked hairy shouldered baby man.
Oh yeah, Paul Bearer is with the Undertaker as well. He's got the urn. I've not written a lot about this. This is the second match that I alluded to earlier that is on the list of worst WrestleMania matches of all time, and it's dreadful.
So we'll try and cut through this.
Gonzalez cannot wrestle. The Undertaker does his best. He does old school. Gonzalez barely leaves his feet, and then his setting of the punches, he's like 2 seconds off, early or late. His arms and his hands, he doesn't know what to do with them, like that bit in Talladega Nights, Ballad of Ricky Bobby, where he's like, I'm not quite sure what to do with my hands, and then it's always by his face in that interview. It's like that. His hands just rise up for no reason because he doesn't know what to do with them, and he just like wobbles around the ring and flails about, and it's awful.
It's a mess.
He gets knocked down to the ground at one point, and he just lays there, just writhing about like a fish. It's disgraceful. Then Harv Whippman gives Giant Gonzalez a chloroform rag.
Yeah, that happens.
And he chloroforms the Undertaker. He gets him with a bottle of ether and knocks him unconscious.
Why?
And that means that the Undertaker wins by disqualification. The third one. The third time this has happened.
What is the fucking point? This isn't even for a belt or a title or anything like that. This is just, I chloroformed The Undertaker because I could.
The whole thing with The Undertaker was we need to bring in a bigger man for him to fight all the time. So they found this really big guy. He's fought The Undertaker. The problem is you couldn't have Gonzalez be pinned. I was saying to you, what can you do? You can't give him the chokeslam. He can't give him the tombstone power driver. There's no way that Gonzalez could take those moves, even if the Undertaker had the strength to get him up and get him over for them.
Well, they teased early on in the match that Undertaker was going to be able to do the choke slam from the top rope. That was the only way he could do it.
He would dive and then they both fall backwards and that would be it. That would have been fine for me.
But I don't think Gonzalez can fall like that. Even if he jumped up a foot off the ground and then just fell backwards, I don't think he could take it with how fragile he looks.
He does look like he's made of crisps, or wallpaper paste. Just
not even good crisps.
Just the way he was writhing on the floor, it was quite disturbing. I find it very uncomfortable to watch this big man who's clearly in a lot of pain just moving around, just wiggle on the floor.
But yeah, there's a disqualification. The Undertaker is out cold, and Giant Gonzalez just murders one of the referees
for no reason. Just show him do something cool.
These two refs, I don't know whether it's always the same one getting the brunt of it, or if it's they're equally getting a share of the beatdowns, but they're just getting so roughed up today. They're getting more punches to the face than Hulk Hogan did.
So they give The Undertaker a stretcher job. It's a big, serious thing. They put him on the stretcher. Like you say, referees flood the ring to try and kind of get Gonzalez out of the ring. There's a medical update a bit later on. Sherry's doing fine, by the way. She's not been attacked again.
She's not been attacked in the recovery tent. No.
Yeah.
Oh, and this is the first aid bit where I said all the doctors were wearing togas as well.
I don't want to go back because I don't want to watch it again, but I kind of do want to see, do they have, the medical cross on the togas?
No, but they are a light, they're like a light green colour.
Oh, so they're medical themed, scrubs.
Yeah, sort of.
So the Undertaker gets stretched out, and we're just sitting here aghast. The streak lives, technically. Okay, he hasn't lost WrestleMania yet, but come on, you can't class that as a win, but whatever.
And yeah, all this time, Gonzalez is just mugging off in the ring, threatening the all of the refs again. And while the Undertaker, shortly after the Undertaker has been taken out back, we just hear another bong, and he comes storming out of that place again, and it is a magical fucking moment. The rest of the match is a write-off, but that was a beautiful scene, especially as you had Paul Bearer sort of grasping at him, trying to hold him back.
Yeah, it's really powerful. That, it doesn't redeem the match, but that was worth having that shit match to see that bit. Because like you say, it's bong and it's immediate. He stumbled. I think the great bit that Mark does in his character work there, The Undertaker, as the curtain flies open and he comes out with his hair all down over his face, and he's not wearing his hat or his coat or anything, and he looks pissed off, but he still has a slight stagger to his walk, he has just come round from being chloroformed, but he still looks like eyes of thunder, like he's gonna kill this man.
Yeah,
and
which he does.
He does. He comes in the ring, he comes off the ropes, he hits him, he comes to the side, he hits him again, he knocks him to the ground, he's laying punches in on him, and it's wicked. Gonzalez slithers away like the vertebraless eel that he is, and he legs it down the rampway away from him, going, "Oh my god, I've killed him, and he's come back to life. I've just been beaten up by a zombie." I wanted the Vulture to kind of get more in on this action. I wanted the Undertaker to basically use the Vulture as a boxing glove and punch Gonzalez with the Vulture. And that's the Undertaker bit. That's all I'm saying about it. It was one of the worst matches I've ever seen, and I wish to discuss it no further. Other than the
match itself, awful. But that return after being carried out, excellent.
It was really chilling, and it was really exciting, and it was very much you bought. Here is a dead man. He is the Undertaker. He is something else. He's unnatural. He's freaky in a good way, not unnatural like an 8-foot man. And now it's time for the main event. Mean Gene,
the one we've all been waiting for.
Waiting for it since the end of January, I believe. The Royal Rumble. That's how long the build-up's been.
Yeah.
Yokozuna won the Royal Rumble in very convincing fashion, and now, finally, he gets his title shot at the grandest stage of them all at WrestleMania 9 in Caesar's Palace. Mean Gene basically takes us through everything I've just said. He talks us through the build-up. We see the clips from Raw of Yokozuna looking like a monster, and also that one where he squashes Hacksaw Jim Duggan as well. And it's going really well.
When the tape cuts back from the Hacksaw Jim Duggan, for some reason Mean Gene Okerlund just has a sensual finger over his lips, like, ooh.
Oh yeah, he does, doesn't he? He's like, oh, can you believe? Shush, no,
ooh,
no.
Shush, missus.
After that lovely build-up, I'm excited for the match. He brings in Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, and this is immediate fucking warning signs. They're going to be talking about Yokozuna versus Bret Hart, and like so far for every match they brought out one of the competitors to talk about how they're going to kick the ass of the other person, and now they bring out Hulk Hogan?
Which makes no sense. He has nothing to do with the feud whatsoever.
Especially as, like, Gene Okerlund sort of asks him, oh, what do you think's going to happen in this match? And he immediately starts rambling about Money Inc.
Mm-hmm. He barely talks about Bret or Yokozuna, and like you say, he basically makes it all about himself. And like you say, it should have been an immediate red flag and a warning. Like a siren should have gone off and a big thing should have flashed on the screen. You're about to be incredibly pissed off in the next 20 minutes.
And the thing is, I wish he just talked about himself and Money Inc., because the moment he brings up Yokozuna, drops a slur.
Well, before that, I'll lead you. So basically, he barely mentions Bret, but when he does, he lumps him in as one of Hulk Hogan's fans. He says Bret is the same as everybody else. I'm paraphrasing slightly, but not too badly. He is also a Hulkamaniac who believes in the Hulkster. So I said to Nathan, how disrespectful is that he just lumped in the champion of the federation that he's working for as underneath him, not even as a competitor, but as an admirer of Hulk Hogan. This is how big Hogan's ego is and how much Hogan thinks of himself. And it's disgusting.
To put himself above the champion like that, it's rancid. And
it's not even the thing of, like, he's in that title picture. If he was, like, the third in the list of competitors, like it was Yokozuna, then the next match it was Bret and Hulk, fair enough.
Yeah, and if it was like, oh, you know, Bret bested even me, the Hulk Hogan, so I stand by his side, I think he's a great combatant. If it was that, then fair enough.
Because it's putting him over. But basically says, oh, he's based on the same level as my fans, but we support him. And I want all of my Hulkamaniacs to transfer their love, again, paraphrasing, to Bret Hart and cheer on Bret Hart, who truly is the underdog in this situation. And whoever wins, I'm going to challenge him next. I'll take on Bret Hart. Or, as you've said, quite right, Nathan, he says, or I'll take on that shortening of the word Japanese.
Yep.
Which is a racial slur. And yeah, I was flabbergasted.
And then we cut to Todd Pettingale, who insults a child's ears.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I didn't even write that down. I was so upset and annoyed. But yeah,
he just calls a child like big ears or something, and then like tries to interview him, and the kid just says nothing, so he immediately moves on.
And basically the Todd Pettingale bit, that's basically it, isn't it? He just insults a kid, and then
he tries to talk to a couple of drunk guys who are trying way too hard to be funny, and it's awkward as shit.
Yeah, and he's so, at one point he says, well, calm down, because like basically falling over their seats on each other and on the rest of the audience. And
they're fake fighting to try and like, oh, we can be next Wrestle Boys or whatever.
Yeah,
and
put us on the show.
I don't remember the context of this, but I've got written down, I think it might have been JR said something to the degree of, Bret is giving away £271,
yeah,
which I think he meant that he did a weigh-in and he's £271 or something like that. But the way he put it sounded like, oh, he's giving £271 to charity. Isn't that nice of him?
It's a late last-minute drive to Headlock for Hunger. He's going to donate 271 quid. And then finally we're here. Yokozuna versus Bret. The end of a 2-hour and 45-minute show. We've got 20 minutes left in the runtime. I've got about 20 minutes left of energy, so let's get going. Really good intros. They make it really clear this is their title match. These are the best people in the business at the moment, and these people should be admired and respected, and these guys are big deals. Yokozuna gets a lovely, long, slow intro. He comes to the ring. He does the traditional sumo wrestler intro that he always does with the Salt, Mr. Fuji, and it's got a lot of gravitas. Feels tense. Feels like it could go either way.
You can feel like in the air that these are two champions are about to go against each other.
And it feels like whatever happens, it's going to be a momentous occasion, whichever way around. It's going to be a tough fight for Bret. If Bret wins, it's going to be a good victory. If he loses, it's going to be a hard-fought loss. Bret comes in, and he's just the epitome of a good guy. He goes straight to the audience, takes off his shades, puts them on a little kid's head who's got like that really weird-looking Bret.
He's got a terrifying Bret Hart doll, yeah.
It looks like, like when you get that outline of a gingerbread man, and they've just stitched on that to like a gingerbread man. Like they've given it like Build-A-Bear, like Build-A-Bear Workshop.
Yeah.
Like something's gone wrong with the machine. There's too much stuffing in the head and arse. And then they get in the ring and they face off finally after months and months of build. Here we are. Bell rings. Bret goes straight in for a drop kick. And his lights
kicking ass immediately.
His lights. He knows that if it goes on long, Yokozuna's got him. He needs to get him, hit him hard, hit him fast, win the match as quickly as possible. So he lights him up, punches him, just throwing blows left, right, and centre, clotheslines, just everything he's got. He's throwing at this brick wall of Yokozuna. Yokozuna fires back and gives him a few blows of his own. Bret goes for a waist lock, transitions from front to back. It gets broken down. And then he gets knocked off his feet. He was knocked flying by Yokozuna with a running tackle.
There's a good energy from both people, immediately from this one. It sets itself off to be a really good match at the beginning.
Bret's on the outside, and he's being kept on the outside by Yokozuna, who's basically kind of closing down his ankles of approach to get back in. So Bret Hart manages to catch his leg and lock it between the bottom two ropes, and then slide in the ring and take him off his feet. And again, it's not really as much as wrestling as in it's brawling. Like he's on top of him and he's just laying in blows on his head, just punching and punching and punching. Bret Hart goes up and gives him a flying elbow just to keep him on the floor. Just get this Colossus, this gigantic, scary, terrifying, strong man on the floor. The referee,
which is of course part of the story and the build-up that's been going into this. Like no one's been able to take down Yokozuna except for Hacksaw Jim Duggan got him down one time, and immediately Bret Hart's been able to get him on the floor. So it's looking like wow, Bret's on top for this one. He is such a strong combatant in this match.
Even though he got knocked out at brunch by Lex Luger, he is laser focused. It is a silly sentence, isn't it? And he's going to destroy this man. The referee releases Yokozuna from the bottom ropes, and he gives him Bret gives him a clothesline. The save is returned, and he hits Bret with a clothesline. He goes flying. He gives him an elbow drop. Yokozuna gives him a scoop slam, a huge leg drop, and Bret Hart looks like a bomb's been dropped on him. He looks blown to pieces. He looks demolished.
But it's okay because the crowd are behind him. They're there chanting USA, USA, seemingly forgetting that Bret Hart's a Canadian.
He's from Calgary, eh? And I think someone's saying on the commentary, they're winning him back in with the power of the belief and patriotism and the love of the USA. And I said to Nathan, I was like, it's a shame they didn't have Bret Hart when Pearl Harbor happened. Because he could have just swatted away the Japanese planes. Get out of it, Japanese planes. So there's a slow beatdown by Yokozuna. He's choking Bret on the rope. He gives him a slow rest hold. They Irish whip themselves from corner to corner. Yokozuna runs in for a splash and Bret Hart gets his foot up. And then he climbs on the turnbuckle and basically jumps on his back and rides him down like it's a raft going down a waterfall. They basically both just fall over. The crowd explode. Bret pins him for a near fall. He can barely get his body over Yokozuna. He's that large. Yokozuna basically bench presses him off. And
which was cool looking.
It's cool to see, right? And then Yokozuna straight away when he gets up, devastating super kick right to the chin and jaw of Bret Hart. Like, it's a really good super kick. It was very impressive. I've just lost my place. Hang on.
That's all right.
So then he gives Bret a snapmare, and then he gets him with a nerve hold, where he digs his fingers into the joint between your neck and your shoulder.
Yeah, the commentary don't call it that, but we're not going to say what they said.
No, they use a word that, an old style word, like that the continent of Asia, I believe, was called, beginning with O. And I said, Nathan, you can't make a move sound more devastating by giving it an old, slightly racist term. Doesn't happen.
No.
The Bret Hart dodges the splash and he gives him a bulldog from the top rope, and again he gets Yokozuna for a near fall, and the crowd are going crazy. He gives him a diving knee drop and another near fall, a diving clothesline. Yokozuna's staggering. He gives him a running clothesline. They go up for that 10 spot. So Bret's punching 1, 2, 3, 4. Yokozuna hooks the legs and gives him a slow spine buster, which looks like it's devastating, even though it's a slow move. Bret clinging onto the ropes to try and stop himself getting spine busted. The turnbuckle cover comes off. So we're expecting now he's going to put him into that turnbuckle cover, roll him up and win, basically. That's how Bret's going to win it. Bret hits Yokozuna into the turnbuckle, his head, and then Yokozuna gets locked in the sharpshooter. And all the way along the match, I've been speculating, Yokozuna is so large and so strong and so powerful, there is no way in hell that Bret Hart can get him in the sharpshooter, which is his submission move.
Mm-hmm.
And he doesn't quite really, because
it doesn't look great. Like, because usually with a sharpshooter, like with a particular build of person, like you can get them to really like arch their back and like look like they're in agony. I mean, Yokozuna just sort of like lifts his legs a bit off the ground
and goes.
But his like torso is pretty much entirely like flat on the floor.
I mean, on the one hand, yeah, Bret normally will put your bum into a little seat and just sort of sit down on you, won't he? But yeah. The thing is, I guess it's selling the weight and the strength of the man that he can't get him up like that. So on the one hand, it's good. On the other hand, it makes the move look kind of hokey and a bit rubbish. But the impossible has been achieved. He has locked Yokozuna in the sharpshooter. Nobody at this point has ever gotten out of the sharpshooter, and nobody's managed to break out, slip out. There's no counter. At this point, the crowd are going ape shit. They reckon Bret's won it. All we're waiting for now is the tap. We're done. Everyone gets to go home happy. Mr. Fuji climbs one of the ropes. With the salt, throws the salt in Bret Hart's face. Yokozuna escapes the sharpshooter, pins him, and gets the 3 count. Yokozuna is now, off the back of WrestleMania 9, the new WrestleMania World Champion. Well, WWE World Champion.
Yeah.
A surprise, but all's not lost. Sometimes at WrestleMania, the baddies do win. And sometimes WrestleMania... bad things do happen, and then it builds up to later on when the good guy gets his own back and wins.
Yeah, but I mean, like you say, WrestleMania, sometimes the bad guys do win. It's weird that we've almost had a full night of that, but, you know, whatever. Sometimes that can happen. But this is not the end of WrestleMania 9 as we know it, unfortunately.
Oh, no, it is. I switched off then. That's it. I don't remember anything else after that.
Oh, you mean you didn't watch the rest of the programme? You didn't see how it got infinitesimally worse.
So, from what I can... Okay, so at this moment in time, I'm thinking, right, okay, the salt, it's an illegal move. Maybe another ref will come out, maybe, and they'll start the match again. Bret will beat him in 5 seconds and win.
Yeah, because
I've held this hope out for about 6 times this evening. It's never happened. But I'm thinking if they're going to do it anywhere, they'll do it here.
Yeah, because they've teased the whole, like, the second ref coming out and saying, no, that's not what happened. There was a second clown. It wasn't an illusion. But no, that's not happening this time. Instead, who comes out, other than the second ref, is Hulk Hogan to check on his number one fanboy.
Bret Hart.
Bret Hart.
Straight away, as soon as Hogan comes out...
Do you want me to try and take this?
Go on.
Okay, so Mr. Fuji is given a microphone. And as soon as he sees Hulk Hogan, just immediately starts talking shit on Hulk Hogan. And he's basically saying, my Yokozuna, he'll take you immediately. He'll take you right now for this belt because you are nothing. And my Yokozuna is the best man in the world. And I love him. And Hulk Hogan does some deliberation.
He's like the son I never had.
Hulk Hogan's just sort of like looking around for the crowd, like he's trying to gauge the feel of the crowd, and they're all cheering for him for some reason, and he accepts.
Well, no, I mean, I think before that,
sorry, you continue.
He's crouched down by Bret, and Bret's there with the salt in his eyes, and he's lost.
Oh, yeah.
And Bret has to make this story work, and this is the bit that would kill me if it was me and I had to do this. He has to basically push Hogan off himself and go, no, don't worry about me. And he points to me and he goes, go get him. Sending in his big brother to go do the work for him because he can't do it.
Again, fucking insulting.
And how awful must that feel to have to be asked to have to do that? So Hogan goes
and obviously, like, this is bad on its own, but knowing what happens to Bret Hart in the future under the hands of the WWF, it, like... I do not blame him for being as angry as he is.
Basically, just Montreal Screwjob is what we're talking about. And I remember saying to you yesterday that I would imagine that as a direct result of being asked to do this and being made to look a twat, when it came to losing the belt again to Shawn Michaels, a man who had been manufactured all the way along through backstage politicking and playing them off against each other till they legitimately really hated each other, probably would have thought back just and gone, I'm not doing that. Look what they did to me last time. I'm not doing that. I should have said no then. I'm saying no now. And then obviously that's what came out of it. It's Montreal Screwjob. But Hogan comes in the ring and the match begins. And Yokozuna locks Hogan's arms behind his back. Fuji lines up the salt, throws it. Hogan moves, hits Yokozuna. Yokozuna staggers back. Hogan hits him with the clothesline. Hits him with the big leg drop. 1, 2, 3. Hogan wins the World Championship belt in under 20 seconds against the monster heel that they've been building since January, who beat Bret Hart in a legitimate, tough, hard-fought contest. I am disgusted.
Fucking insulting.
Hogan's music starts playing immediately. Fireworks start going off.
And you pointed this out. Why the fuck wasn't Yokozuna's music playing after he won? Why weren't the fireworks going off when he won? And obviously, like, this is because it's planned, isn't it? But in kayfabe, it just doesn't make much sense.
And even when you start thinking about it, it doesn't make much sense anyway. Why would you do this? I cannot think of a single upshot other than we've brought back Hogan. Hogan wants to be champion at WrestleMania. That any of this occurred.
That's literally all I can think of. Like, McMahon went to Hogan and said, we want you back for WWF. We don't care if you're only there for a short time. We just need you to, like, help boost ticket sales for WrestleMania or whatever. And Hogan says, okay, you're going to pay me X million dollars and I am going to leave WrestleMania as the world champion.
Because I can't see, maybe I'm wrong, I can't see them doing Bret versus Hogan because you have to turn one of them heel. They're not going to turn Hogan heel.
No.
So then you've got to turn Bret heel.
It just feels like such a mess. Like, they had all of these storylines planned, and they had, like, neat little ways to end it, and then Hulk Hogan came in and just screwed everything up.
He has demolished not only the tag team titles, but now the world belt as well. And I remember saying to you afterwards, this makes complete sense as to why they didn't win the belts. I thought it was unusual that he's come back and he hasn't won the belt in the match that he's in. But an impromptu 22-second match at the end of WrestleMania 9, where he wins in 4 moves. It's like the Goldberg versus The Fiend all over again, isn't it? Where'd you go from it? You've cut the legs out of Yokozuna. You've made him look like a chump, so you can't use him anymore as a monster heel. You've made Bret look like he'll just roll over and not even try and fight for his belt, so you've damaged Bret Hart.
Yeah. Like, Hulk Hogan's presence has done so much more damage than good. I mean, sure, it probably sold some tickets, but they've completely delegitimized...
at least 3 people. 3 or 4 people.
At least 3 or 4 people. And yeah, like you say, where does it go from here? Because I don't think Hulk actually stays with the WWF for long. I think he's back to another wrestling company before the year is out. So I wouldn't be surprised if... Sorry.
I think by King of the Ring, the next King of the Ring, he goes after that.
When's King of the Ring? Sort of.
I couldn't tell you, but I remember reading somewhere he hangs on till King of the Ring and then he goes. So it's between 6 months to a year. I think he's in it this time round.
Okay, but yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if, like, sort of next Raw that we watch, he just turns around, gives the World Championship belt back to Bret, or
there you go.
Hell, fucking hilarious, he could just turn around and give it to Brutus because he's his best mate.
Because you can do that, can't you? You can just hand the belt off when you don't want it anymore.
Yeah.
And Hogan's not going to lose. And if he's going to lose, he's going to have to be basically made to like the Death Star before he'll lose. He's done nothing but damage every single thing he's touched since he came back and made the company a worse place with a lot more gripes, a lot more legitimate gripes and complaints from the talent that, oh, okay, well, I've worked really hard. I've been the champion for this long and I've stayed in shape. I've worked really hard. I've put on great match after great match after great match. And at the end of it all, a guy comes back and in 3 weeks, he goes from being not a part of the company to being world champion and beats the guy that beat me in no time at all. Making him look bad, making me look worse.
The only good thing that's come out of Hulk Hogan's return, in my opinion, has been Brutus the Barber Beefcake. Yeah, like, so far in the matches I've seen him in, I think he's been great, and I get the feeling that he might not have returned if it wasn't for Hulk Hogan.
I wouldn't say so, no, to be honest. I reckon it was because Hogan was, coming back, that he came back as well.
Yeah, it was either that, like, he came back because he heard Hulk Hogan was on the cards to come back, or maybe, like, they just brought Brutus back in because they figured it'd be a good way of getting, story-wise, getting Hulk Hogan back into the ring because they're busy mates. So, unless there's much more you want to talk about on that, I suggest we start wrapping up the show now. Interestingly, this is like the first time we've recorded an episode of this that has ended up being shorter than the actual broadcast thing that we're talking about.
Probably not by much, though, right?
We're about like 45 minutes out, which is nice.
Fair enough. That is nice. Okay, so Nathan, WrestleMania 9. What did you like? What didn't you like?
Well, that's the thing, because I don't know whether... I was about to say legally, like the police are going to bust through my door, but I don't know whether I can like say, I liked a bit of a match and then it went bad. Because it's like, I really enjoyed like the first 10 minutes or whatever it was of the Tatanka versus Shawn Michaels match. I thought that was damn good, solid wrestling. I enjoyed the Razor Ramon versus Bob Backlund just because I really enjoyed Bob Backlund. Other than that, Lex Luger versus Perfect was, again, good at the beginning, but it kind of went on a bit long for my liking. Like, I know we talked about that that match very briefly, but it did go on a lot longer than we made it seem like. Other than that, like, The Undertaker's return after being stretchered out. What didn't I like? Fucking everything else. Double Doink, I hated. The Yokozuna versus Bret match, that match was good. Its ending was fucked, and the Hulk Hogan situation was fucked. I did not like the Money Inc. versus Mechamaniacs. And what else was there? Giant Gonzalez, again, awful. Headshrinkers versus Steiners was fine. Again, went on, like, it felt like, I don't know, like it just didn't feel like it had any earthly consequence. So yeah, that's all I really have to say. I can see why this is considered the second worst WrestleMania, but at the same time, I'm happy that the bar is this low. Like, when we come back to it next year, if we make it that long, if none of us like perish like in the middle of a Raw at some point because they probably don't get any better because Hulk Hogan returns again or something stupid, I'm looking forward to knowing that next one is supposedly going to be better, and I'm looking forward to whatever train wreck 95 is going to be. So Blake, what about you? What's your good bits? What's your bad bits?
I really enjoyed Mr. Perfect versus Lex Luger. I felt like it was a good Clash of the Titans sort of situation. I'm not too gutted that, Lex won, because obviously Mr. Perfect's got the out of he technically broke out of that pin. So they can still do stuff with that if they want to. I enjoyed Tatanka versus Shawn Michaels until the screwy end. Just put the belt on Tatanka, man. Just let him
Just give him it. He's earned it.
And then you can then elevate Shawn Michaels to the world championship picture. Push him that way. He's gonna have to lose it to start going after the world belt anyway, right? So just do that now. I think other than that, I mean, like I said, the return of the Undertaker was probably the best 10-second chunk of the whole show.
Yeah.
If I have to compare 10-second chunks of him coming out that back room, that was pretty cool. Ramon versus Backlund was perfect popcorn match. I could find someone that I'd never seen wrestling before. I could sit them down. We could watch that match. They'd understand completely exactly what happened all the way through, who everyone was, and it's just perfect introductory kind of level work for wrestling.
It was stupid, but it was short and it was fun.
The things I didn't like, I think the Bret and Yoko match will be forever retroactively tainted by Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
You cannot pull those two. They're inexplicably linked now because of what they did. So you cannot pull those two things apart and look at them separate from one another, because each one impacts the other in such a way, to such a level that it's like Tanga, the other Pokemon. It's all just like spaghetti.
Yeah, that's the thing, because like I've got written down here that I can see like where it all broke down for me, because I was like, oh, this is like a good match. Both competitors are looking strong here, and then Hulk Hogan happened.
It just seems to like everything. It's like the Midas touch, but in reverse. Everything he touches turns to shit. The other bits I didn't like, the Gonzalez, the actual match, the Undertaker was probably one of the worst things I've ever seen. Probably narrowly beaten by that time. Doink fought somebody, Kamala, I think it was. That was worse. I'm quite pleased. I know for a fact Bam Bam Bigelow versus Kamala was cut from this because of time constraints. Surely they could have saved some time. don't fucking have Hulk Hogan in it every 10 minutes.
Yeah, if you take Hulk Hogan out of whatever it is you're doing, you save yourself an hour of screen time.
I mean, just in general, like you say, I can see why it's one of the worst WrestleManias of all time. And if I wasn't watching it with you for this, an hour and a bit in, when that second Doink came out, I'd have turned it off, and I never would have watched that WrestleMania ever again. I just wouldn't have watched it.
You probably would have just looked up the results, seen the Hulk Hogan screw job at the end, just thought, I'm turning this off now.
Yeah,
I've no reason to keep watching this.
I'm looking forward. It's like, you know, when you're really badly constipated, and I'm going somewhere with this, and you finally have like a tricky shit, and it's out of the way now, and you can look forward to pastures new. It's like that with me with this. Now I know we've done this, and it's out of the way, and we're moving towards new storylines and new stuff. I'm looking forward to that, seeing where everything goes. Because I think we've got past a lot of the worst of it now. And like you say, on the upside, next year it's going to be better, apparently. But it can't be much worse, right? So, but yeah,
no, I don't think it can get much worse.
All in all, it was disappointing. It was too long. The matches themselves were too long. Nobody other than Tatanka, Mr. Perfect, Lex Luger, and Shawn looked like they really gave too much of a shit. And yeah, Hulk Hogan is just constantly becoming a thorn in my side, and I feel justified in my continued hatred for the man.
The other good thing about this match that I suppose we can bring up, JR, nice to see.
Yes, yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's good to have him in. It's good to see him early on, and it's good to have his impact on the show.
Yeah,
because he did a really good job. So I was really pleased by that. So that's that. Let's never talk of this again.
No, let's never.
As a first special.
Yeah, I was just going to mention, sort of, at this point of like WWF's history, how many like main event, like big pay-per-views are there at this point? Is there only like the 4 big ones, or is there only a couple? I'm trying to think.
Honestly, not too sure.
Because we avoided the Royal Rumble just because it was too early in the show for us to like start thinking about doing the big ones. I think the format that we've done this, where we try and keep like the matches like a lot briefer than we would do in the regular Raws, and just sort of generally talk about the feel of things, I think this works. So yeah, we're going to be coming back with whatever the big next main event is. I'm sure we'll find it out next time on Raw when they talk about promoting the next one in 2 or 3 months or whatever it's going to be. And so you can look forward to that whenever we get round to it. But
yeah, so we'll be coming back with the Monday the 5th.
It should be Monday the 5th, yeah.
1993.
Episode of Raw, which will be episode 11 for us.
Yeah, I'm going to go and take off this stupid toga and go burn it in my back garden.
No, don't. Save it for the next one. Just wear it for every like pay-per-view we do.
Do you think I should? Just every record and just pop a little dress on, basically. That's what I've got on. It's sweaty and hot, and I feel gross. How do women do this, Nathan?
I don't think they all wear togas.
They should. They look kind of pimp daddy, don't they? They look all right.
Yeah, they cover the nips. They're fine.
Yeah, so that's that. I've had enough. I'm going to go have a beer.
I don't know how we're going to end this one.
It's been really nice going through it with you, Nathan. I appreciate you sticking with it with me. And I mean, from January, obviously, when we first started this project, just a quick thank you. So we've done our first couple of months now. We've done our first major event. And obviously, I couldn't do it without you, either the watching of it, the making of the show, or even the discussing it. I couldn't do it on my own. There's no one else I'd rather do it with either. So, I mean, I know it's been bad this time around, but it's just nice knowing that no matter what happens, we'll always be there for each other, and we'll come back and we'll... This time next year, we'll be in a completely different situation, life-wise, with what's going on with the pandemic and things. And this is kind of the lowest ebb, I think, so far of what's been happening lately. So it's the only way is up. Let's just start playing the music. Let's just get out of here, dude.